Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live video. Today is the 21st of July, 2021. My name is Kerry Holzman. Thanks for checking me out. Thanks for joining. Welcome to all my friends in the chat room. Hey guys, welcome in. Good to see everybody. Got a number of people eagerly waiting for the beginning of the video, and I had a little trouble getting things ready in time. I was a bit optimistic when I set the schedule, but here we are, live. One take, unedited, unscripted, and I need to build a computer for viewer Jack, who wants a computer in his hot and humid Texas garage where it will stay indefinitely. And he wants to be able to use it for looking up parts for things he's working on in the garage, like lawnmowers. He needs a DVD drive in there, and he needs something to run reliably, quietly, and something that isn't going to require constant massaging and maintenance in that environment. And so to do that, and because Jack is, of course, he's a member of our community here, an outstanding member of our community, I wanted to try and kill two birds with one stone on this build by offering him some of the used product that I bought from Amazon, returned product, that has some slight damage that I would never sell as new. I showed this earlier, but we have a scythe heatsink that has a little damage on the fins, and the top of this case has a pretty minor dent in the you probably can't even barely see it, but it's right there. But it's significant enough that when you're standing in front of it, if you had just paid all this money for a new computer, that would be unacceptable to me, so I wouldn't sell it to somebody, but I would give it away. You know, it's funny how the attitude changes. And I mentioned the danger of accepting products for free to review from manufacturers. Because when I'm disappointed by the product, my review's not as harsh when it's not my money that was lost. So like when I did the whole Intermax build with Mitch, and then the fan cracked on the cooler, and the cooler didn't run as cool as I thought it should, I was disappointed. But if I had spent my money on that, I'd have been pissed off. And it's funny because people in the chat room were like, oh, that's unacceptable. But if I said, would anybody in the chat room like it for free, suddenly it was acceptable. See, so it works. When you give something away, the tolerance level, as it should be, is like what wasn't acceptable before is now that's just fine. That's no big deal at all, right? Like the damage to this fins isn't going to really create any difference in cooling, and the dent on top of the case doesn't affect the ability of the case to hold the parts. It's like when you buy a new car. If the new car has a dent or a scratch in it, that's unacceptable. But if you're the one who causes the dent or scratch, hey, you know, what are you going to do? In this case, I saved some money by buying these parts, and most of the parts I get from Amazon from their warehouse that are returned products have been perfect. No problems. These are the only two items that I could have sent back, but I thought, you know what, this will be a great giveaway for one of our wonderful members of our community. And so this one isn't going to have any RGB. The cable management is going to be real simple, basic cable management on this. What's holding up computers for other community members is the extreme amount of cable management that has to be done with all the RGB. And it's something I don't film because it's just tedious to watch it. So that's something I have to do offline when I have time. So those keep getting pushed back. And something I can get out of here quickly and just keep the inventory moving out is something I want to prioritize and push it out. So do ask for a little more patience for people that are waiting. But there is a method to my madness. And on top of that, I'm running a computer business, and I had to deal with 3 support calls today already. So hopefully we're close enough to the end of the day that I'm past that. And in fact, when I'm done broadcasting, I'm going to have to get something to eat. Then I got to drive across town and address. I'm going to swap a power supply out on a machine, and I got a machine that's randomly freezing. I already swapped the RAM out of it, still freezing. Went through the add remove programs, took a bunch of stuff out of there, still freezing. And it's random, it's intermittent, but it's happening more and more often. And we're trying to avoid putting another machine in for all of the customization that has to be done. So we're going to try the power supply, and if the power supply doesn't resolve the freezing issues, it's probably a motherboard or a processor, which is odd because I built the computer in August, I want to say, of 2018, and it's been perfect. And this is the first time we've ever experienced any computer-related issues at the office in 15 years. The systems I build are just rock solid. We just don't have these problems. And of course, it's got to happen to one of the key employees. You know what I mean? Like, there's 15 employees, there's 3 that are really important, and this is one of those 3. Everybody else's machine works fine. Now, they do have spare machines, brand new spare machines that, you know, they could swap it out, but then we have to reconfigure email and printers and shares and all that other stuff, which neither one of us really wants to do. But if it keeps freezing and interrupting productivity, I'm going to have to take it. And if I take it, it could take a long time for me to figure out what's going on. And all the computers there in the office have all been replaced except that one. But those were all built in 2015. So it's like I told them, I said, you know, that was the fastest computer in the office, but now it's the slowest computer in the office because it's everything else is an 8-year build. And that build was an 8-year build, but from 3 years ago, let's say. And obviously the technology is a bit more advanced now, and there's not a big difference in performance or anything, but you know, probably a couple generations newer on the CPU and improvements in the chipsets and things like that, which again, you wouldn't necessarily want to upgrade to. But when it comes to spending the time and money and labor to fix something, it'll still be the slowest machine in the office. It's a great excuse to say, why don't you take one of the new ones? I'll take the bad one, and then I can take my time diagnosing it, figuring it out, because intermittent problems are the worst, the absolute worst. But we're going to give it one more shot. So later tonight, I'm going to go swap a power supply, and we'll see what happens. I mean, there's not much else to change out in those systems. They're pretty simple. But they do need jack on this build. He does need an optical drive, and I just realized in my rush to get everything ready to go live, I have not grabbed one. But I just have one around the corner. Right over here. I should probably go on Amazon and order some more. This is my last one. People don't order optical drives much anymore, but they still do occasionally, and I need to have at least one in inventory, and then if I use it, then I don't have any. So preferably 2 in inventory. They're only about $22 each. And this is how they come. They arrive in just a plastic bag. If you want to buy the OEM optical drive, some of the reviews on Amazon are like, I think they sent me a used product. They didn't know what they were buying. So that's how that's where you're saving money. You're not paying for the retail packaging and documentation. And people are exposing to the world their ignorance and boasting about, you know, how ignorant they are. It's a strange world we live in, but be that as it may, I might want to look and see if any of these have been returned. I mean, they're only $22, but maybe I can get them for 15 or something. I'll have to check Amazon warehouse. Coming up on Friday, I got a major build planned, assuming there's one critical part. It's a CPU, and without the CPU, I can't do the build. And it's supposed to arrive tomorrow. So if it arrives tomorrow as scheduled, then Friday's build with Mitch is going to be unlike anything I've done. Super high-end components, sort of an Intel version of Threadripper kind of build. Big money with a twist. If the part doesn't come tomorrow, then obviously Mitch and I will be doing something completely different, and that build that we're planning for Friday will be postponed to next Friday. This will be a build that will be at least 3 videos long, very similar to Threadripper. It's big, it's expensive, it's complex. As I mentioned, there's a twist to it, and I haven't spent enough money on it yet. Basically, once we get the build to a certain point, there's going to be more parts I need to order. That's why this video is going to go on, this build rather, that I'm talking about, will go on for at least 2, if not 3 build videos. It's pretty complex and very expensive. I also got a fun little thing that I'd like to share with you. You guys can't see it, but if I plug it in, behind me on the wall, I'm going to hang see if I can get this working and I'll show it to you. You get a sneak peek at what's going on back here. Most of my day yesterday was spent to drive across town and pick this thing up, and it's very fragile. You got to be very careful to handle it properly. It's very expensive, and I want to hang it on the wall behind me. And I'm just trying to get the other. Uh-oh. Got a dead battery. Let me swap this battery on here. Live videos. I had charged the battery, but when I plugged the battery in, I didn't realize the unit was left in a power on position. So it obviously just drained this battery immediately. So let me put this battery back on the charger. Oh, my goodness. It's one thing after another. It never ends here, people. Never ends. All right, yeah, that's at a 0% charge. It completely drained because I failed to shut the unit off. I've got another battery right here. We'll take this and place it on the wireless camera so we can get this thing up and running. Here we go. And that should be on. This is on. Okay. Okay. So basically, I was just getting this whole thing ready. Now, if I come over here, let's see, we'll turn the wireless camera on. Hey, it's working. So check this out. I got a neon sign. It's about 3 feet tall. It's on this beautiful black background, and I want to hang it on the wall behind me. What do you think, guys? Do you like it? My sister created my logo, and I just love the logo. She did a fantastic job, obviously, on that. And there's a neon sign shop across town, quite a ways away, actually. And I ordered this about 3 or 4 weeks ago and had to put a sizable deposit down. And they said, come pick it up, it's ready. So that's why there was no video yesterday. That pretty much took up my whole day. You guys like it? What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? I don't know how I'm going to get that to Michigan when I go, but, you know, those are good problems to have. It's bright. It lights this whole room up. It's crazy bright. So I love it. They didn't even send me a picture of it. I sent them a picture of my logo, and they said, well, we noticed your logo's in black, and we obviously can't do black neon. So can we reverse it to white? And I said, yeah, reverse it to white. I don't care. And they said, okay, it's ready, you know, about 3 weeks later. And they never sent me a picture of it, which I thought was weird. But they've got a great reputation. They've been around a long time. They're called Graham's Neon out in Mesa, Arizona. And they did some neon custom signage for Starfighters Arcade, which is how I learned about them. And they just did such a nice job for them. I thought, well, geez, I wonder if I can afford one. It was actually cheaper than I thought it might be, but it was still expensive. Totally worth it. And of course, like I said, that's my sister's design. So it's pretty darn cool to bring it to life like that. So I wanna hang it, you know, right back here on the wall. I'm really not supposed to hang anything on the wall, but you know what? It's 3 little things, and it only weighs about 20 pounds. If I can get it into a stud, that'd be good, but I'm gonna go to the hardware store and get some proper anchors for it, and I'll bring old Mitch over here and put him to work to help me hang it and get it straight and level and not too high and not too low. We'll figure all that out, but it's coming, and I'm just so excited. So anyway, looking back at some contributions here, let me give some shouts out to people. Let's see what we have going on in the chat room. Where is it? Okay. So just gonna quickly glance through the chat. Chevy contributes $1. Hey, Chevy, thanks for kicking us off with that contribution. There's Michael Dane contributing $10. He says, stay cool. The heat is on. It's going to be 55 degrees Fahrenheit here in Ohio tonight. Yeah, rub it in, Michael. Michael Dane, he's the man. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate your continued support. And hi, Mitch Morrison's in the house. Welcome in, Mitch. John Craig, joining us from England, contributes £5. He says, intermittent, you need a bigger hammer. Now, this is my build. You know, if it was a pre-built, I'd agree with you. But that's blasphemy to do that to one of my builds. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And $5 from Jason Willis. He said, that's a classy neon sign, right? Way too classy for me. But it's damn cool, so I'm just real excited. You know, it beats, I could do like a green screen behind me and pretty much put anything back there, but I'm all about things being real. Mitch Morrison says he's got a stud finder. I bet you do. It's pretty easy to check for studs. You can typically hear them, but stud finder couldn't hurt. Bring it over. I think I've got 2 or 3 stud finders. I've got the old magnetic kind that looks for the nails. And then I've got the sonar kind, you know, you push the button and the lights move back and forth. And I know they've got them for cell phones where they're supposed to see through walls, but you got to configure it for each wall. So I never did that. And then, of course, there's just the old tapping method where you can kind of hear where the studs are. So if we can align at least one of the 3 screws into a stud, that would be ideal. But that may mean it may be a little off center. Not sure yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Worst case scenario is, like I said, it's about 20 pounds, maybe between 20 and 25 pounds. It's pretty light. And we'll put some proper anchors in the wall, and it'll be fine either way. Drywall will hold that, no problem. But my preference is to do it a little overkill. So today, what I thought I would do for Jack there in Texas, wasn't quite sure to use an MSI board or a Gigabyte board. I don't really want to turn Jack into a guinea pig, so I think I'll stick with the Gigabyte B365M. This is a $70 motherboard. I've got a Core i5, 9600K. You think that'll be okay for checking email and browsing the web and Facebook and YouTube? It's way more than enough. I've got a 512 gig Samsung 960 NVMe drive that's been sitting around. So that can now have a forever home. Got brand new RAM, the Team Elite. These are 8 gigs apiece for a total of 16 gigs. We'll throw Windows 10 Pro on it, of course. The optical drive is a CD, DVD, reader, writer. These, like I said, are about $22. OEM, no box, no instructions, no cables. You save money for that stuff that's just going to go in the landfill anyway. The case is a returned case that has a slight damage. And the cooler, by the way, we don't need a scythe cooler on an i5, but I'm going to do it because it's overkill. This little damage obviously won't make any difference at all on an i5, but this thing is going to run whisper quiet, be ultra reliable. And for the power supply, we'll use what do we want to use? I'll tell you what. I've been using this power supply right here as my test power supply. The folks over at Enermax sent me a bunch of power supplies to test, or to review rather. And so I've been using this as my test power supply. This is a Cyberbron, what is this? How many watts? 600 watts, that's way overkill. Way overkill. Maybe I'm not going to use this one. Thinking managing the cables on that. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's use it. Let's use it. That's fine. We're fine. That's going to be today's bill. And I think we were low. I think the case was missing some screws, but the only screws I need are motherboard screws, and it didn't have those. This case shouldn't have been resold. It didn't have everything. Those are fan screws. I think I took this box out from another build. This is not the box that came with it. Like I said, it was missing nearly everything. So I think that's what I ended up doing. Cheated a little bit. Because I have lots of extras. So for a guy like me to get something incomplete at a discount, depending on what I'm doing with it, giving it away or selling it, whether I'm trying to save customers some money, stuff like that, I can provide extra parts. Like the cooler didn't come with any thermal compound. So what? I got lots of it. So for you, it might be devastating. But I could return any of this stuff for free because it all came from Amazon Warehouse. But I just decided it was a good deal. Even though it's not perfect, it's good enough. And you got to make a decision. If you want to act like a rich person and you want everything perfect and you want it right now, that's a very rich attitude. You're going to pay for it. If you're trying to save money and you care about the environment and you want to keep this stuff out of a landfill because it's not perfect, and you realize your shipping time is going to be delayed for most of these used products, and you can save quite a bit of money as long as you adjust your expectations accordingly. Don't be unrealistic. Don't be unreasonable. And you'll be happy. You'll be happier. And like I said, I've seen people run chairs into their cases at the office. They just totally mar up the cases. And they never complain about it. They never say, hey, can you take the dents out or can you fix the paint? Never, not once. But if you deliver a new computer that way and they're expecting a new computer, that's not acceptable. So I would never test those waters. But if a customer says, hey, I've got a fixed budget, can we still do something nice? This is a way to tackle that, potentially, and still have peace of mind that we're not investing any risk, so that if something turns out that it was returned because it's bad, we could still send it back. And we've got that peace of mind, again, making sure it's coming from Amazon Warehouse. Or if you are buying from a third-party seller, make sure that they have a return policy. Check their return policy. There's some Amazon sellers that want a 50% restocking fee, 50. That would be extremely foolish to send that back, whatever it is. And Amazon Warehouse will never do that to you. So if you are going to buy from one of the marketplace sellers something used, take a look at their return policy. You may even have to pay for the return shipping back on top of a restocking fee. You might end up buying something for $100 that costs you $30 to ship back, and then a $50 restocking fee, resulting in a $20 refund. You might as well keep it. But again, you don't have that concern with Amazon Warehouse. Okay, so there's a difference from sellers on Amazon. Amazon is a seller, and then there are third-party sellers called marketplace sellers, and they make up their own rules. Some are better than others, and it's your fault if you buy from one where you did not read the return policies. Okay, so if you don't want to worry about reading return policies, stick with only sourcing used parts from Amazon Warehouse, and you'll have that guaranteed peace of mind that you can send it back for free. Typically, it's within 30 days. If there's any problem with it, Amazon will gladly take it back and refund your money. We clear? We good? Okay. Hey, Jack is in the chat room. Jack's the one we're building this for today. Hey, Jack. I was thinking of inviting Mitch over today, and then I thought, I don't want to pressure him. But, you know, if you happen to stop by while I'm live, you can join me today. Luke says, Carrie, I'm getting a system for free. I think I can wait for when you have the time. A living comes first, my friend, but take notes. This is like waiting for a present on Christmas morning. Well, as long as building anticipation and having it meet your expectations is critical. It'd be nothing worse than waiting for something and it arrives and it's not what you thought it would be. And there's this beautiful diamond and it's really cheap. I'm gonna order it. And the diamond shows up and it's like a little speck, needed a magnifying glass to see it. And you're like, this is not so cheap after all, and this is not how it looked online. Didn't realize that was an extreme close-up. Yeah, stuff like that, where You'll see on the boxes sometimes, like for crackers, they'll have like a picture of the food inside the box. And then in fine print, it says not actual size, image enlarged and enhanced to show texture and detail. You know, you open that box, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on these. And then, you know, it's supposed to be like cheese balls or, you know, regular, and you open it up and they're little teeny tiny BBs. You know, what is this? Anyway, be a smart shopper, be careful. I've got, see, I did a smart thing here. I put the thumb screws that go to the panels inside the case because I didn't have a motherboard box to stick them in. Now I do. Let's get started. I got work to do. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate your patience. Make it worthwhile. I will make it worthwhile. Kevin says, do you have any builds, any paid builds waiting to get finished? No, nothing paid. I have builds that will become paid builds. Right? When I deliver them, the customer will pay me for them, and I cannot deliver them until they're built. I've got 2 done for a local accounting agency, and they're not ready for them yet. They just are waiting some cable management, and I have to put the panels on and put the label on the side. But Windows and Microsoft Office and everything they want is installed. If they back out on me, I'll just sell them to somebody else. I've got at least 6 other giveaway computers here, plus the 3 veteran build giveaways, only one of which is ready to go. And another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 motherboards that are prepped that were 3 of the boards came out from the system upgrades. They're Z97s or H97s. They're a few generations old, no M.2, but they're still lightning fast. They're going to run Windows 10 without a problem. Probably will run Windows 11. We'll see what the requirements are when that ever comes out officially out of beta. So I'm not planning for anything for Windows 11 yet because there's no set standards. There's just discussion and concepts, intent. Microsoft has made their intent clear, but that is all subject to change until the product is officially released as a public product. So until that happens, there's no planning for it. Anybody who's planning for it at this point is, oh, I don't know. You're trying to avoid a problem that may never exist. You know, you might want to buy a life preserver when you live in a desert. I just don't think that 100-year flood is coming this year. I could be wrong, but maybe when there's more evidence that it's coming, that'll be the time to prep for it. I'm all about preparation, but I am absolutely opposed to technochondria, this sickness. It's an illness of trying to avoid problems you'll never have and spending money. And of course, you never had the problem, so then you pat yourself on the back and say, oh, didn't I do a good job avoiding that problem? When you never would have had that problem, like wearing an electrostatic discharge bracelet. And your system goes together without any static problems, and you go, I did a good job. You could have done it without the electrostatic discharge bracelet. Can it damage? Yes, but when you fly on a plane, are you preparing for a crash? Like when the airline employee says, you know, the oxygen mask drops, and they give you this mandatory safety instruction. I don't know about you, but I just tune out. Like, it's not going to drop down. That's not going to happen. The opposite happens with computers. People think their computer's going to overheat. They think it's going to have all these problems. They worry about all these things that are never likely going to happen. And it drives me a little crazy because they don't have any basis of experience from which to draw upon. They're just because they saw some video online and they read some article on Reddit, they're freaked out. So, you know, when I get in a plane, I'm not like, okay, so when the oxygen thing comes down, I better put it on the child first, put it on me first, and then the child, and we're gonna, even if I'm sitting on the exit door row, and they're like, are you capable of opening a door? Yes, sure, okay. So yes, planes crash. It does happen. Electrostatic discharge happens too. but I think a plane crash is far more frequent or more likely in my actual experience of doing this. But don't let somebody's active imagination get in the way of facts. I opened the wrong bag of screws here. I'm looking for the power supply screws and the motherboard screws. I thought I put them in here. Yeah, those are the motherboard screws. These are fan screws. These are screws for the optical drive. These are extra standoffs, and these are front case fan screws. Okay, we're good. We're good. I've got the CPU. I don't want to leave the socket open, so I'm going to go ahead and slap this i5 9600K. It's a 3.7 gig, 9 meg cache socket, 11519 9th gen. And these are damn near imperceptible for most typical end users from an i7. Most typical end users cannot tell the difference. They just go, holy cow, it's fast, it's quiet, and it's super reliable. So there's nothing more maddening to me in my business than somebody who doesn't have any money and has no experience, and they want to tell me how to do my job, or they want to buy something from me, but they're going to dictate what they're going to pay and how it's going to be delivered. And it's like, no, you're going to have to pay me more. It's no different than people who violate the speed limit and then you get pulled over and you got to pay a ticket. If you're rich, who cares, right? So money tends to solve a lot of problems. You can get away with things that most of us can't get away with because we don't have that kind of money to throw around. So if you don't have that kind of money to throw around and you can't afford the speeding ticket, don't speed. And if somebody's building something for you on a budget, don't be so demanding or do it yourself. Doing it yourself is the best, because then if it's screwed up, it's your fault. So I strongly encourage all of you to build your own computer, fix your own computer. And while I do make a living out of doing it, there's a wonderful feeling you get from the accomplishment of building a machine. And you're probably going to want to do it time and time again. And that's why I make these videos. But inevitably, it leads to people calling me and asking if I can build them a computer. Okay, I mean, sure, it's what I do. But I'm not complaining, just saying this is what it's like in my, if you were looking out of my eyes and my shoes, it's kind of interesting, I think. I have a couple of machines here, by the way, and I'm going to keep saying when I have time, that I'm going to offer for sale to the first come, first serve to viewers in the United States. And they are both 9th and 10th gen 8-year builds. So that's going to be a B460 HD3 or with an i5 or i7 10 gen in that. We've got a couple of the H370 HD3s, either i7 9700Ks or i5 9600Ks. I'm going to figure all this out. I'm going to build it. Please don't email me and ask me for any prices because they're not done yet. I'll do one at a time. I need to get inventory out of here. I've got to get more cash coming in. This project I got coming up with Mitch is going to be one of the most expensive projects I've ever done. And I just need to keep the money flowing so I can keep these unique projects up. In fact, I'm going to guess that this project is so expensive and so extreme, it'll probably be the last one I will do for quite some time. Not only because of how expensive it is, but I won't have anything to do with it when it's done. So if I'm done building this really expensive machine that is really intended for industrial work, it wouldn't really be something ideal for home users. And I don't have very many viewers that are like, yeah, I'll pay you $6,000 for that. I mean, if they do, that's great. But it'd be very large, heavy, and expensive to ship and fragile. So likely I'm going to be stuck with this thing. And that'll be another problem I got to deal with. But more importantly, there aren't many parts out now that are more powerful. Like this is the right at the top edge. May not be the top, but we're right up at the top edge. And once it's built, it'll be a while before anything supersedes that in power and performance. It's going to have 128 gigs of RAM, which I will probably expand to 256 gigs of RAM because it's got 8 sockets, and we're going to use 4 of them. It's quad channel memory. That's quad channel 128 gigs of RAM is $700. So we'll start with 128. Once it's built, I told you I'm going to be putting more money into it. That maybe I may get an identical set of quad channel and bump it to 256. Why? I don't know. I don't know. But it's videos like that that get the most views, and it's good for the channel. Once the system's built, I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. I can't afford to give it away. And like I said, it'll be very expensive and fragile. I don't know what's going to happen to it. But wait till you see what it is. It's pretty darn cool. I think so. And of course, that's possible because of your contributions here. You'll see that I take the contributions, I put it back in the channel, whether it's the neon sign or it's, some outrageous build or a giveaway. This is all possible through your contributions. The amount of money YouTube pays is a pittance. It's a pittance. I make more money from commission selling RoboForm or selling those Windows 10 product keys or Office product keys 2 to 3 times more than what YouTube pays me. And that's what enables me to make more videos more often. Because if I'm doing this, I'm not earning a living, in the traditional sense where I would go to a client and service the computers. I'm doing less and less of that and more of this. And as long as this keeps generating a livable income where I can also invest back into the channel for more content, I would much rather do this. But it's very expensive. The expenses of running this every month right now, with this big build coming up, along with this last month's expenses, is, well, it's in 5 figures in 30 days. And it's just me. And even at that, I can't afford to bring any help on. So things take a little longer as a result of that. And I don't know how sustainable that is. I'd like it to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but it sort of depends on sponsorships. It depends on the income. I'll always make YouTube videos, but the content of those videos and the frequency of those videos are directly related to the income of what I can afford to do and how often I can afford to do it. So it's the contributions, the voluntary contributions have kept me from having to require memberships, which makes the channel free for everybody and enables me to do what I love doing. And at the end of the day, I might wind up with a few computers that are way too big to ship and way too expensive for the average person to be able to afford. And they'll just become a set piece in the background of the studio. I guess that's probably what will happen to it. And so every set piece in the studio will have a story behind it. So I won't just put like random stuff back there. It'll be stuff that has a history, that if you're a member of the community, that you'll remember and say, I remember when Kerry did that. Like I have the side panel from the Dell desktop that I shot with a shotgun. I used 12 gauge slugs, so the great big holes. That'd be a nice little set piece, and it's part of the channel's history. So that's sort of my big picture. Power supply. I was looking for power supply screws. I don't see any, but they're just a standard hex head screw. And even the motherboard screws would work, but I prefer the hex head screw because the head of the screw is larger, so there's more surface area to keep the power supply secured. This is being shipped to Texas, and I don't need this power supply breaking free. If it bounces around inside of the case, it's going to destroy everything in the process. Those hex head screws are the single most common computer screw used since I started professionally in 1991. We're still using the same screws, only then they were silver and now they're silver or black. And I should have some in this drawer. Put all my spare screws in here. Don't mind me while I dig around. This drawer is getting more and more full. You know, when I first got into the studio, and I got this kitchen island here, all the drawers were empty except for a couple of tools. And over time, it's getting a bit starting to overflow. So I get these spare screws from Amazon, and if you look in my video notes, there's a link to my Amazon store where all the tools I use, the Lazy Susan, all of that's in my Amazon store link. If you use my Amazon link to make any purchase, I make a small commission off anything you buy. It doesn't cost you any more. And it's another way to support the channel. I don't see who buys, I only see what's purchased. And that's even if I go looking. That Amazon revenue is split right down the middle with Mike Smith. Mike and I do the Tech Bet show together. Tech Bets basically brings in no income at all. So Mike and I do that together at our own personal expense. Of course, Mike's got the Mike Tech show. We share that link in the hopes that we double the revenue, and then we split it 50-50. I don't know. It's just how we work things out. Helps him, it helps me, and it makes no difference to you since it's all the same stuff you order anyway. That's only for Amazon US. I don't have affiliate links to other countries' Amazon. But it's a nice way to support the channel that, you know, maybe something you're doing anyway, right? You might be buying something from Amazon anyway. So if it makes no difference to you, since it has no difference in price or delivery time, to use my link, and if enough people share that attitude, even tiny purchases add up. It doesn't take much to exceed what YouTube pays. That was hilarious because Deadpool did a review with Korg. They were doing like a reaction video to the upcoming movie Free Guy. And Ryan Reynolds does such a good job. And at the end of the video, which is hilarious, where he's pretending to be a reaction channel, reacting to a movie trailer, at the end he says, "Half a penny a view for this crap." It cracks me up, because he's right. Ryan knows the story. Ryan Reynolds knows what's going on. I wouldn't think that Mr. Hollywood understood the struggles of a content creator on YouTube, but he got it. He nailed it. I don't know if he writes his own stuff, but he nailed it. He was exactly right. So, you know, when it's coming from Ryan Reynolds, it's coming from a big Hollywood superstar, you're not just hearing it from me. So all I'm doing right now, I know you can't see, just putting the power supply in, which you've seen me do a zillion times before. And that is in. And then I'm just going to come around and slap that optical drive in real quick. That's super easy. We'll come around here and pop this off. This will just slide in. Note to self, I need to go on Amazon and order some more of these. At least 2 more, maybe. If the price is good, I'll get like 5, and I should be good for a while. Probably take me till the end of the year to get rid of those 5. That's how frequently people want them these days. But they won't go bad, you know, if they're just sitting in inventory, and they won't really depreciate in value because they're already pretty much flat out. Most optical drives, power supplies, and motherboards, kind of the prices really don't move much on those. You don't really want to carry a lot of inventory as a small-time computer shop because part depreciation on CPUs, RAM and storage, it can be pretty volatile. And typically it goes down. Through the pandemic, stuff has been going up. These Corsair 200R cases have become impossible to get right now, but luckily I had an inventory of them. I still think I have a couple left. And then I still have a couple Be Quiet cases. I have a bunch of cases from Silverstone for future giveaways. I have some from Intermax, like the one Mitch and I did Friday. And I have some other unique cases that are just kind of one-offs, like the attack helicopter case, or the Xenos build, or the what we call the robot's foot, or that Antec Torque 2. Yeah, so we have plenty of variety here. I like to stick with the 200Rs in business computers, because they have a very professional look to them. There's no RGB, there's no window. Businesses prefer these, and I prefer building in them because, as I mentioned earlier, I can do it quicker without all the additional cabling that all that other crap requires. So the optical drive is in, and as I mentioned, there are some screws here. Now these are optional, I don't have to use them. If the computer was going to be something I load in my car and drop off locally, I wouldn't even bother. But because this is being shipped and I don't know how FedEx is going to handle this, it might be handled gently, it might not. And it's only going from Arizona to Texas, it's not going that far. But we have the screws. I'll put one screw on each side just to doubly secure the optical drive. We don't want that breaking free in shipping. But if you're building at home and you're not physically transporting the computer anywhere, this latch is all it needs to hold that optical drive in, which also makes it easier to service, where you just don't need a tool. You can just remove it and replace it. I had to replace an optical drive every now and again. And for 20 bucks, they're not worth fixing. If it doesn't work, just swap it out, throw it away, buy another one. Does anybody have any questions for me while I'm working? Feel free to ask. I'll do my best to pay attention. I know I'm going to need a couple of standoffs in here. Just there's 2 extra standoffs, and that's exactly how many we're going to need. Because out of the box, the 200R is ready to rock with a full-size ATX motherboard. This is a micro ATX motherboard. And so the size of the board is smaller, so therefore the mounting points of the board are the same across the top and the middle, I think. Yeah, it just changes towards the bottom because the board's not as long, but it's just as wide. A micro ATX board is just shorter, but it's just as wide as a regular ATX board. And as a result, this is considered the bottom of the board right here. So we'll put one standoff there, and then directly across. Actually, I think I have to go the top one. Some boards, the other mounting hole's just slightly lower on the micro ATX. And then these screws down across the bottom and this far edge, these standoffs, we leave those alone, but we won't be using them. The board won't go this low and it won't go that far to the right. That means this case is going to have a lot of room to get your hands in there. It's going to have a lot of good airflow. It's going to run nice and quiet, nice and cool because of how big it is compared to the size motherboard we're putting into it. And I need to test fit this just to make sure I'm putting these standoffs in the right place. This one's on some boards we go this one lower. But I think these appear to be on the same height level here. But we'll test fit it. Don't over tighten your standoffs. If you strip out the back of this tray, it's not replaceable. So you basically have to either rethread it and use a larger bolt, which you'd have to source on your own, or it'll just forever spin, which is what most people do. Or take it out entirely if you can and use a plastic standoff and let the other mounting points hold the board in position. It's not like you have to put screws in all of them, but it's a good idea to have some form of support in there. Okay, Zyson says, if you watched the Tomorrow War yet? No, I've not watched. Just don't have much time to watch TV. I'm pretty much just working. Although 60 Minutes last weekend had a piece about corporations now looking to hire people with autism because they're finding their attention to detail and their focus and productivity is saving them millions of dollars correcting mistakes that regular employees make. And they were showing an example of a flyer that went out that was advertising something for a certain price. And, if it was $21.24 and it was supposed to be $29.24, that's $8 for each customer who takes advantage of that deal that was going to cost the company, untold amounts of money because of that error. And they said they improved their accuracy by 90%. And so businesses even do the interviews differently for people on the spectrum to properly identify where they would best be used in the company. And it's about damn time. You know, I'm telling you, so many different levels of autism, what they call the spectrum. There's people that have it you would never know. There's other people who can't take care of themselves. So it runs the gamut of range. But a lot of people with autism, they think differently than you and I, or maybe differently than you, but the same as me. I'm not sure. But that doesn't mean they're disabled. It means they're differently abled. And if we can harness that and exploit it, everybody's happier. Businesses save money. They're working and contributing to society and aren't made to feel like they have nothing to contribute. And it's about damn time that that was finally recognized. And we're all benefiting. Everybody benefits from it. And so it's a great, interesting piece on 60 Minutes. And then the week before, 60 Minutes ran a piece on the SolarWinds hack. And that was pretty fascinating, learning about that. So these little 60-minute pieces, these segments are maybe 12 to 18 minutes in length, and that's about the extent of TV I watch. I do watch a lot of YouTube, though. And I hang around Etsy too much. I got the subscriber counter off Etsy. Guy in Greece makes them, and I said, oh, I'll take that. That's awesome. Unfortunately, YouTube decided not to give accurate subscriber numbers, and they round them. So it says 347,000 when it's actually more than that, and it won't change until it reaches 348,000. I don't know. I don't know why YouTube did that. Kind of maddening. Because when I ordered it, you know, the idea was people could subscribe and watch that number jump live. Now, I can do that with a video overlay. I just wanted it to be, it doesn't matter. I'm way off track here. Let me get back to what I was doing. And I need to put, I'm going to put this cooler on, and I've got the fan and all the parts for the cooler in the box. At least I better. Hey, there's Oystein contributing 150 Norwegian kroner. Thank you, Oystein. Thanks for your continuing support, joining us all the way from Norway. Michael Dane said today's star date is 47634.44. Captain's log, star date 47634.44. Dean Manley says, this goes along with the savants that can hear a tune, walk up to an instrument and replay it flawlessly. Yeah. They're superheroes. Where's my cape? The lead singer of the Talking Heads. Some interesting interviews with him talking about his autism and how that works with the rhythm of music and everything. And, you know, he does not have a good singing voice. His father told him, you know, you'll be fine in a band as long as you don't sing. But he figured out a way to make that work, you know. And that's what, just thinking differently. Yeah. Glenn wants to know if I put this neon sign on the wall behind me, will it affect my video when I'm filming? Oh, yeah, probably. But the good news is these are pretty expensive cameras I'm using, and I can adjust the video gain. And if it turns, and there's no brightness level on this neon sign. There's nothing I can do to dim it, other than you know, making some kind of a plastic window that I tint. You know, it all has to be done with practical, what we call practical effects. But it's something to consider, and I've thought about it. It is bright, and it's going to act like, look, if I shine a flashlight into the camera, and the camera is set to auto-adjust its brightness, watch what happens to the camera. Watch how the wall behind me goes dark. So This can be corrected in the camera, or at least it should be, unless it's, or I have to counter it with more lights coming at me. I have to have more light in front of me than behind me, or I'm just going to be a silhouette, or the parts I hold will be too dark for you to see. It's all solvable, but yes, definitely it's a concern. But I just don't know, and I'm not going to have technochondria about it. We'll hang it and we'll see what it looks like. I don't have to turn it on. You know, it looks pretty good off too. I mean, it looks way better on, but if I unplug it, it'll serve its purpose. Either way, it's going to be just fine. Other questions? You can dim the neon sign by shutting it off. That's what Frank Jimmy said. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So all these AMD parts, you can all go into the recycle bin because this cooler will never move off of this board. And for the price of it, it don't matter. So all of these little AMD parts can all go in the bag. And then the bag can go in the recycle bin. We're done with it. These little standoffs for an Intel 2066 socket, never going to happen with this specific cooler. However, I'm short one standoff. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I got 1, 2, 3. I gotta have 4. 1, 2, 3. That's a pretty critical piece. These are for the brackets. I need 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. So did it roll and fall on the floor when I wasn't looking? What happened? That's pretty important. So here's the deal. If it turns out that that standoff is missing, then that means I can't use this cooler on an Intel 1151 build, but I can use the cooler on an AMD build. Because the AMD build doesn't use those standoffs. I don't think it does. Pretty sure it doesn't. I swear I checked this already. I checked it. Darn it. So where's my 4th thumb screw? Did it fall? That'll shut your build down real quick. And if you're going to buy used parts, you really think twice if you want to buy a used cooler, because there's so many little parts you may not find out until, you know, you've already got it halfway installed. You can't complete the installation. It's not like I'm going to run down to the hardware store and pick one of these up. There's $100 from Frankie B. Right on. He says, here's a little something to help you out. Frankie, very generous. Thank you, my friend. David DeWitt contributes $5. He says, here's to keeping the channel ad-free. Doing what I can, David, and your help certainly helps meet that goal. So thank you, David. Thank you, Frankie. And let's see. Yeah, it's very generous of Frankie to do that. It is really strange. I swear I checked that. I swear I checked it. These are all the smaller. So again, for AMD or Intel 2066, we're okay. But that is not an option. I can't work without it. So let me just set this aside. We get in the box and pull the I/O shield out. Yeah. You know what? Let's put the case screws in the box. And let's go ahead and notice when something kind of goes sideways on me, I shift gears. I do something entirely different to make progress since I feel like I'm being held back. And I'm hoping in the process I will stumble onto that other thumb screw, because I swear it was here. I just don't know if it fell out of the bag or if I put it in the wrong bag or if it fell off the counter and onto the floor and I didn't notice or hear it. But that's not good. When I bought the cooler, I don't care if it comes with the AMD stuff because I never mounted on AMD stuff. I might be mounting this one on AMD. Yeah. I'm going to look at this bag 6 times, like it's going to magically appear in there. Some scissors in here I'll use, and we'll get this IO shield out of the bag. This was a new motherboard. This was not a returned board. You can tell because it doesn't have the thank you for giving this product an extra life, or sparing its life sticker on it. So it's a brand new board jack. And let's put the IO shield in and let's make some progress. I've already wire tied, or zip tied rather, the rear case fan. Pop this bad boy in there. That. Optical drive, IO shield, power supply, CPU is in. Let's go ahead and put the, this is a Samsung 960 EVO NVMe 512 gig drive, which should be perfect for Jack's needs. And of course, it's got one M.2 right here below the CPU, and it's one screw. Jack could easily upgrade this in the future if need be, or he can add multiple hard drives, be it mechanical or solid state, up to 4 3.5-inch drives and 4 2.5-inch drives for a total of 8 drives, as well as just pulling this one out with one screw and replacing it. And you don't have to deal with any cables or wires with this one. For something that's going to sit in the garage for the way he describes it, it should be plenty of space there for him. So we'll just take this out, put the NVMe drive in, let's get rid of that. Okay, so that's done. I still got to do something with the cooler. Oh, this is the extra bay cover. Take off for the optical drive to go in. So there. And I wish these smaller standoffs would work, right? Don't understand how that got by me. That's okay. We're still okay because we have a lot of different options on coolers here. And we're not going to do anything RGB for obvious reasons. There's no case window. But I think I've got the right cooler to do this. I've got this relatively small cooler from Arctic. It's the Arctic Freezer i13XCO, which I think is specific Intel only. This is an Intel only cooler. And I think, what do I want to do with this now? I'm missing that screw. It's not like I can steal one from another. Well, I could theoretically, if it was going to be used on an AMD build, but I would just use that one on an AMD build. Or 2066 build. Well, I'm a little bummed out. It's moving right along. Had a plan. I'm live, unscripted, and anything can happen, and usually does. So for now, we'll just put all this back. Set it aside. And if I stumble on it, we'll use it in another giveaway build, I guess. But I was really hoping to use it today. And these spare screws here, these will go into the motherboard box as well. Those are for the case. And that That's empty. Is that empty? No, that's got a screw in it. That one's empty. What's this? This was is this the extra 9700K I've got? Yeah, so we'll just keep that over here for another build for another day. This should be more than enough cooler. Eric Wilson says, Carrie, I ordered a Sunjo electric pressure washer from Amazon Warehouse, and it was brand new, and it works great. Right on. I hope you used my Amazon link and make a little commission on that. Yeah, you can save a lot of money with Amazon Warehouse. That's a nice little secret. I have some other money-saving tips. If we do this expensive build on Friday, I'm going to tell you how I did not pay full price. Saved about 30% or more on this $5,000 computer. So you can do the math on that. It adds up to be quite a significant chunk of savings. Let's see, let's just keep all this together. Let me move it somewhere, maybe put it all into a giant gallon-sized Ziploc bag or something to keep it all together. And hopefully I'll stumble on that other standoff somewhere at some point. Or I'll do what? I'll use it on an AMD build. That's right. Pretty sure the AMD build doesn't use those. Just double checking that the boxes are empty. It would have been in a plastic bag anyway, so I just don't know. Very strange. Okay, so here is our cooler. It's quite a bit smaller than the Mugen 5, also less expensive. And if you have a case that isn't very deep, this is an ideal cooler because it's not as tall. This is an Intel-only version of the cooler. It's got thermal compound already pre-applied to the bottom of the heatsink, and there's a cover over it, and that's keeping the thermal compound from getting accidentally wiped off, getting on your furniture, and worse, contaminating the thermal compound with dust, debris, fingerprints. All of that affects how effective the thermal compound is. So we want to keep that free and clear of any foreign material or fingerprints and oils from your skin. And we don't remove that plastic cover until we're ready to put it on. And we won't be ready to put it on until we set up the mounting system. So let's do that now. Wow, these parts are really tiny compared to what I'm used to. Looks like, Glenn says, I rolled the video back. It looks like that standoff rolled off the bench towards your left foot. Let me take a look. I'm looking by my left foot, and it's pretty large. Let me get down. Sometimes you got to get down on your hands and knees and get you. Ah, it did roll off. Aha. Hey, guess what? We're back on again. Thank you, Glenn's Music. Paid attention. Okay, so now I'll be damned if I'm going to try and fit this back in a box. So I was really hoping to use this on a case where I have to, a case where we don't have the depth that the 200R gives us. Sharp eye there, Glenn. I appreciate it. All right, I'll just set this cooler over here for now, and I'll put that away later. So let's go back to where we were with the Mugen 5. We're back on track again. One of the problems I'm getting is I have so much stuff now that if something falls on the floor, there's a bunch of other stuff on the floor. My goal is to get all of it off the floor, so when something falls on the floor, it'll be freaking obvious. If you notice the way I hold parts, I'm never touching the components. I'm touching the I/O, I'm picking up the board, I'm holding it by the edge, my hand is on the metal bracket, I'm not touching the bottom of the board. So even if I had an electrostatic charge, it wouldn't go anywhere. It would just go to a grounding point. Furthermore, electrostatic discharge is something you need to worry about in a factory where you're assembling the components onto a board. It's very important you have electrostatic protections and precautions in the assembly factories where these parts are raw. But once the parts are soldered onto the board has grounding circuits. If you want to wear an electrostatic strap, you can. It doesn't hurt anything. I've been building here on the channel and demonstrating how you can run a motherboard under a faucet, soak it in water. You let it dry out. If you let it dry out thoroughly, it'll just turn back on. It doesn't hurt the board. These concerns about electrostatic concerns only come from enthusiasts. Professionals, you can tell a professional from an enthusiast because professionals know the reality of this electrostatic discharge theory. And again, if I was working in a factory where we were soldering the components onto the board, absolutely, grounding is very important. But just because you wear a strap, all that does is dissipate a charge that you have. It doesn't dissipate the charge the product has. So this product has a charge on it in the environment, and I have a charge on me. And when we're not on the same level, zap, that's what happens. So if you're grounded, right, and you go touch a doorknob, you'll still feel a static shock if you did before. You'll say, well, but I'm grounded. Yeah, you are, not the doorknob. So you both have to be grounded. You both have to be grounded or it doesn't work. So many people think that if they just plug an electrostatic strap onto something, but they don't actually ground the other thing, they think it's all delusion. And that's why you can often tell an enthusiast from a hobby. You can often tell an enthusiast from a hobbyist because enthusiasts worry about impractical and improbable things and they obsess over it and they're overly concerned, where a professional is just going to be like, whatever. I got real work to do, and that's not a part of my real job. So please don't let the enthusiasts scare you. It's unfortunate that enthusiasts with the least amount of knowledge also are the ones with the most amount of anxiety. And those two things go together. If I have an opinion from an enthusiast and I have an opinion from a professional on a specific topic that the professional does and the enthusiast does on the side, I personally find the professional's opinion far more valuable. That's just me. You do what you want. Because I have accountability to every system I build, it's my financial consequence if I'm wrong. It has no effect on you whatsoever. And I've been doing this over 30 years. Never had anything damage from electrostatic discharge. And if I did, I'd have to pay for it. So if you want to wear one, great fashion statement. If that makes you feel good, you might want to spin around 3 times counterclockwise and wave chicken bones over your head while chanting. That'll help you just about as much. But hey, I've only done this like 30,000 times, so it's just anecdotal. And I only take financial responsibility for it. So, free advice, man. It's worth what you pay for it. Once again, pay very close attention to how I hold the components because it makes all of that other information, if you choose to not believe it, then at least you know I'm holding the board by grounded areas. So even if there was an electrostatic discharge, it would just go to a grounded area. It won't go to a component. So if you handle the parts correctly, you don't have to worry about it. And if you know what you're doing, you don't have to worry about it too. Somebody who's never ridden a bicycle but worry about what happens if I fall. Somebody who's been riding a bicycle doesn't even give that a second thought. Hypothesis versus theory. Makes no difference in my life. You do whatever you want. Believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. I'm the one running the business. I'm the one making the YouTube video. I can do what I want. And if I'm wrong, you will not get the bill for it. I will. So relax. Thanks, Cupcake. Okay, so thank goodness that with your help, I found that little screw there so I can go back to my original plan. I don't like having to change my plan, but I am live and I have to keep things moving. I can't stop. Say, sorry guys, I guess we'll just do this another day. Whoops. So we want these straight ones, these straight brackets. The curved ones are for AMD on a Scythe Mugen 5. Just put those there for now. And this goes right over that latch that we just used. And then exactly opposite with the bump facing up so it doesn't hit the capacitors below. If you look at things and study them, it'll make sense to you why they are designed in certain ways, right? If obviously there's directions. You should read those if you don't know what you're doing. But if you just look at it with a critical mind and you look at how it's designed, it's pretty obvious why it's designed a certain way. Once you set it down and you just, put it the other way and watch what happens, just set it down and you'll quickly understand. So the biggest amount of fear comes from those least educated, right? The most unreasonable concerns and anxieties are a result of a lack of experience. So you don't have to have any qualifications to make a YouTube video or write a message on Reddit and talk with authority, but that doesn't give you authority. And if I was taking advice from somebody, I would look into who that person is. Is that somebody that I know, or is that somebody that's established themselves in the industry? Or is it just some rando on the internet spouting off with no accountability and no authority? And usually, more times than not, it's just a rando with no accountability, no authority, and no real experience. Apart from when I say no real experience, I mean they've not worked for a significant period of time in the industry where they were held accountable for the work they did. They're just hobbyists. And, the worst thing that happens is they screw themselves over. But that's nothing. That's nothing compared to screwing over a customer that paid you. Yeah. And then when you do that more than once, you probably won't be in this line of work very long. So that's why it's important to consider, if you're looking for opinions, the source of the opinion. What makes that person's opinion worth considering? What do you know about the person? If the answer is I know nothing about the person, I would continue to do more research and get more opinions. But again, there's no impact on my life. I won't be able to pay my rent because you decided to go a different direction. It's your problem. I have enough of my problems. I don't need yours. But when I'm paid, I will take on problems and resolve them when I'm paid. Because that does make a difference in whether or not I can pay the rent. So again, be cautious of that online. There's a lot of it in pretty much every category, from health to whether or not the earth is flat, vaccinations, all this other nonsense. It makes no difference to me. If you prefer nonsense, that's your right, that's your choice. I'm not held financially accountable for your judgment. You're not held financially accountable for mine. So I won't tell you how to do it, and you don't tell me how to do it. Common respect, common courtesy. If you're my customer and you're paying me, different story. Different story. Because that pays the bills. You want a happy customer if you want to stay in business. I know, am I going too quick for you? It's very complicated stuff. Back in my day, we called it common sense, but that was a long time ago. Hey, any other questions? Probably not after that one. It's away. Thermal compound time. Yeah, let's put some thermal compound on this bad boy. This did come with thermal compound. I didn't think it did. Let's put a glob of that right on there. Bloop. The sound effects are optional. And let me grab one of my disposable nitrile inspection gloves. These are non-sterile. They're not medical gloves. They're nitrile. You don't want to use latex, rubber, or other materials because they can induce static. Nitrile does not. And well, I mentioned you really don't have to worry about static discharge, especially since the only place this glove is going to touch is the top of the heat spreader, which even if we static shock that would never cause any problem because it's all grounded. We also don't want to provoke it. There's no good reason to do that. So it's good practice to do everything the same and treat everything the same. And we have one set of rules that we follow universally. We don't say, well, you can touch this, but you can't touch that. Or you can touch this here, but you can't touch it there. Or you can't touch this other component the same. It's always the same rules, even though the importance of those rules varies depending on the component. And in that way, it makes the instruction easier. So we're not teaching you necessarily how to become a computer technician or how to become an electrician. We're just teaching you proper handling of the parts. And like I said, even though I'm not touching anything where it would matter if I static shocked it, I'm still going to choose nitrile gloves because they're the right glove to use. They're just as easy to find. They're just as inexpensive. There's no reason to not use them. There's no justification to take on unnecessary risk, no matter how improbable it is, when there's no advantage to that risk. So that's the logic there. And we handle everything the same to keep it simple. Now the bottom of this cooler is dirty, so let me clean it. There's a great YouTube channel and it's called Just Rolled In. And if you, it's about cars, and the people show up with their car and they, say, hey, this thing's leaking oil. I don't know why. And it could be something as simple as somebody reused a crush washer, or they haven't changed the oil in 2 years or longer. Or, it's usually a DIY project that no actual mechanic could legally get away with doing. And then when they completely, when the owner of the car who did all this DIY stuff, or they have a friend, quote unquote friend, that was quote unquote helping them, ends up where the car doesn't start, or the problem gets worse where they finally give up and take it to the mechanic. Well, they just might end up on this channel called Just Rolled In, and it's quite humorous to see the extremes of cheapness that people will go to that endanger not only their lives, but the lives of everybody else on the road. And there's people who just don't understand how a car works. They just don't change the oil. They don't understand why that's important. There are people that run their own electrical wires to a stereo in their car, and they run the wires under the car. If you look underneath the car, you will not see any electrical wires ever. So what are they thinking when they do that? It's okay to expose this wire to the elements, and if I scrape the bottom of the car and it short circuits the wire and damages the engine control unit, whatever, it can cost a lot of money. And you look at this stuff and you're just like, these people have such a weak grasp of the complexities. They don't understand why it's important to not do that, and they're not self-aware enough to look under the car and go, There's no other wires under here. There's no electrical wires under my car. Maybe I shouldn't run one. No, no, we're dealing with some people that, wouldn't hesitate perhaps to get on Reddit or to make a YouTube video and show everybody how great their work is. And those people start to do what they saw on YouTube and, oh, round it goes. This is my constant battle. But it's nice to know it's not just me. There's entire channels and entirely different industries, from electronics to mechanical stuff, where they just showcase how bad people do stuff and how dangerous it can be. And often the damage is so bad it costs more than the car to repair it, or more than the car's worth. So look out for yourselves. Okay, the cooler is on. We just got to put the fan on there. You think Jack wants a screwdriver? I got enough of these. Going in the garage, it's a good place to keep a screwdriver. Fan brackets and the fan. Should I go ahead and zip tie that fan now? Yeah, I think I will. Grab a couple zip ties. We'll take care of that before I install it. We had a customer who had Cox Cable come out to their home, and the Cox employee, these are contractors, they're a dime a dozen, often not very experienced, and they work for a pretty low salary, which is why Cox hires them. And he ran a drill from the edge of the house, the inside wall that is also the outside wall, with the idea being he's going to run the cable through this hole he's making. Came about that far from hitting the gas line coming into the house on the other side of the wall. When my electrician had him install these lights, we put some in the kitchen, and when I wanted one over the stove. But as soon as we did 5, one in each corner and then one over the stove. When he cut the hole for the one over the stove, gas line. I was like, oops. So we had to patch that hole. We can't put an electrical fixture anywhere near the gas line. Duh. But we didn't know until we cut the hole. Thank goodness he was not cutting the hole, with some long drill bit that could go through and puncture the gas liner. That would have been a very expensive fix. And because I was paying him, it would have come out of his pocket, or he would have lost the job. I would have had to pay for it. And I would talk, and I would warn people about him. I would say, be careful of this guy, don't hire this guy. But this guy did everything correctly. The Cox guy, not so much. And you think about what would have happened. So if the contractor would have busted through the gas line, could have caused an explosion, certainly could have caused a fire. Who do you think is going to pay for all that? Now, if the homeowner did it themselves, yeah, it's their problem. But when you pay somebody and then the person you're paying causes damage, that's called being held accountable. And that's why when you listen to advice from people, you should consider who they are. Because most people who get paid for their advice don't give it out for free. Would you? So who are these people answering these questions online? just something to think about. Found another tech channel I like on YouTube here called Tech Team GB. I enjoy watching him. There's a couple others too, but that one for some reason just popped into my head. Jeff Jankowitz says, I watched the moon landing in grade school. Oh, that fake moon landing? Of course it was real. People are crazy. People think we never landed on the moon. We send rockets up in space and you can watch those rockets take off, but for the rocket to go as far as the moon, no, that's not possible. A friend of mine argued that SpaceX cannot land the rocket straight up. That's all a visual effect. I said, you know what you need to do? You need to go to Florida and you need to watch the SpaceX rocket take off, and then you need to watch the booster land in front of your own eyes. Bring a telescope and then explain to me that that didn't just happen. That was all a visual illusion. The guy who said that has no degree in aeronautics or engineering, but that didn't stop him from letting me know that's not possible. That's defying the laws of physics. He doesn't know what the laws of physics are. Not a clue. Furthermore, and this is what I told him, I said, even if you're right, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? Are you suddenly now going to lead a better life? You're going to be able to afford a nicer car? You can go get a steak dinner tonight? Anything at all? Does it make any impact in your life one way or the other? Let it go. And if you're that convinced, go down to Florida, watch it happen, then tell me what you saw. Yeah. People with the least experience are often the most opinionated. The people who are very confident in their answers don't care if you believe them or not. Doesn't matter. The people who fight for you to believe in them are probably looking for that approval because they lack the confidence that they can just say, well, I don't care. The confidence of I don't care is something that is telling of any argument you're having with anybody. If they're fighting too hard for it, they're probably insecure in their belief. If you were absolutely secure in your belief, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't need approval from other people to confirm your belief. Does it make sense? If you know it, doesn't matter if other people agree with you. It's only when you're uncertain that other people's opinions matter, that they agree with you. Keep that in mind the next time someone's arguing about something online, unless they can provide evidence. An unbiased third party, reputable third party's evidence. Or it's just noise. More noise, just dogs barking in the night. Each one wants to be the last bark. And every time one barks, the other one barks back. Neither one of them stops. Nothing's being said. Okay, I've got two sticks. They're 8 gigs each of DDR4 RAM Team Elite. I've been buying this because it's a really good price. I think these are like $70, $60, $70. And I've had really good luck with the reliability and compatibility. So it may not be, sometimes there's RAM on sale that could be a couple of dollars cheaper. I don't care about $2 or $3. It's not gonna, again, change anything in my life for $3. Only to experiment with some other brand and have some problem, and I did that to save $3. I had to get gas in my car today, just to give you a side example of this logic. And I like to go to Costco to get gas. The gas at Costco today was $2.95 a gallon. And the cost of gas at the QT station was $3.03 a gallon. So I'll do the math for you. That's 8 cents a gallon difference. Costco is 2 miles out of my way. QT was on my way home. And I'm in the Mustang, and it's going to take about 11 or 12 gallons. Let's just say 12. Costco usually has a line I have to wait in. Unless I go late at night just before it closes, there's usually a line to get gas. So if the car needs 12 gallons, I have to drive out of my way to get it, and I'm going to save 8 cents a gallon. That's a total savings of how much? Let's just call it $1. Does that sound okay? We'll give the benefit to Costco. $1. To go out of my way, wait in line to save $1. Or I can just stop at the QT on the way home, fill up, get back on the road, get home sooner. What's my time worth? Same quality gas. Now, if I'm filling up a big rig or an RV or something, or I'm buying 50 gallons, different story. I see people wait in that Costco line to fill up their Honda Civic, and the line is 6 cars deep. I just shake my head. I don't get it. I just don't understand people. Save that $1. Save that 96 cents. I'm going to spend my time and save my money. I'm trying to save my time, spend money. All right, now I want to check to see if I put the standoffs in the right place earlier. So I'm just going to gently set the board in place, line it up with the I/O shield here, make sure I'm not trapping any of the grounding straps. And I need my glasses. Get my glasses, and let me get my flashlight. I'll use this flashlight. I love this flashlight. This thing's magnetic. See, put it on here. It swivels, it tilts. It can even charge other things. You can plug your cell phone in here or whatever and use the battery in here to charge something. It's got 2 brightness levels, super bright, and then off. And then it's got a glow-in-the-dark ring that glows green for a little while after you've had the light on or had it in sunlight. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the center post. I lined up correctly. I done did it good this time. And then I can go grab those motherboard screws that I prematurely put back in the box. And I'm going to pull 5 of these screws out. 2, 3, 4, 5. See that? I can count to 5. I've proven it. And, well, you should not use an electric driver in assembling your computer. They're fine to use for taking it apart. I'm a professional with thousands of hours of experience, and again, I am taking the financial risk. And I'm trying to avoid repetitive stress disorder. So I have a clutch set on this $130 electric screwdriver, which is not cheap, because I'm not just using any electric driver. I'm using one that meets my standard. And you know, this magnetism is really weak on here, so I'm going to attach a little rare earth magnet from inside of an old hard drive. And that's going to strengthen that magnetism. Oh, that's way better. I don't have to worry about dropping the screws. A screw can scratch the surface of a circuit board. Using a magnetic screwdriver should absolutely be mandatory, just not necessarily a electric driver unless you're willing to accept your risks. Don't blame me if you screwed up. Not my fault. Oh, you know what? One other thing. I want to put the power cables on this before I secure it down, because this, I also noticed I got the fan on a little bit tilted. So I'm going to correct those 2 things here before we secure the board, before I get too far ahead of myself. Because it is a tight fit, combining the Mugen, the Mugen 5, the Scythe Mugen 5, with a Corsair 200R. You know, other cases, like the Be Quiet case, give us a lot more room to work in. For example, So I need to fix this before I get too far ahead of myself here. So let me just go ahead and take this board out. Shouldn't even be trying to do this in the case. Let me just flip this out and do it right over here in the box. Let's get this magnet out of the way. 5 screws out of the way. Notice again how I casually hold the board. I don't even think about it. It's such a habit for me to not touch the components. So again, I don't have to worry about the ghost of ESD. The ghost of ESD is coming to visit. It's going to cause latent damage someday in the future, maybe, or not. So make sure you take proper precautions. Okay. Main cable I want to plug in that I'm concerned about is this one right here. This is the CPU power. It's very difficult to get my hands in there. The good news is I don't have to worry about bending those. They're already bent. This is the one I want right here. We're going to go ahead and run that out. Oh, right about there, I guess. Does that look good? Sure. Let's say it does. These Enermax power supplies, I'm not a big fan of how they do these cables. See how they're like 2 separate cables instead of 1, like on an EVGA? And that's just more cable management to do later. But I guess if you only needed 4 of those 8 pins, you'd separate this, and then you could completely remove the 1 cable and tie it down away, which you cannot do with EVGA. But it's pretty rare that I encounter a board nowadays that only has a single 4-pin. Usually there are 2 4-pins forming this large 8-pin. And on every power supply, these 8 pins, they split into 2 4s. But these are connected together to form an 8-pin. And we'll just go ahead and put that in there right now. This down. Pull up the slack. Now I'm going to set the board back in real gentle like. So I can reach over here, and I want to do 2 things. I want to plug this 8-pin CPU power connector on, and then I want to plug the rear case fan on because there's a fan header right there that I want to use. It's nice and hidden. That makes our cable management look nice and pretty. And even though there's no case window, if you ever have to work on this in the future, or if I ever have to work on it, it'll be so much easier to work on without a bunch of cables in my way, tucked up and out of the way, and it's super easy to do before I mount the motherboard. Those are both on. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. All power supplies have a split 8-pin connector. There's no such thing as a solid 8-pin connector for CPU power. It's just simply not made unless you bought a proprietary computer pre-built, right? Then who knows, the stuff Dell and HP does, that's not standard. It's not meeting any industry standards. It's just it's all about making profit. But if you buy a power supply, just a standard ordinary power supply, I'm sorry, I'm just checking the I/O shield. I just want to double check right now before I go too far that I don't have any grounding straps blocking anything. Yeah, every power supply you buy now, that's an industry standard. All of those 8-pin power connectors they can split. In other words, they can be broken apart. Sometimes they don't even attach together. You have to kind of push them together with your hands. On this one, they had a connector, which is nice. It's a lot easier than trying to. Well, you've seen me struggle with the EVGA dual 4-pin, but you know, it's kind of a one and done thing. This driver is just not long enough. Believe it or not, the clutch is getting in the way, or not the clutch, but the the thing. This piece, it's getting in the way. So I will use the scythe driver. Is it magnetized? Yeah. We're going to put this one in by hand. Oh, that's a tight fit. Got it. Hooray! Don't over tighten the motherboard screws. You want them to be snug. You don't want them to vibrate loose. And with the electric driver, as I mentioned, they have a clutch setting, and it turns itself off when the clutch tension has been met. That's not critical. It's just something that keeps my OCD happy. There we go. Motherboard power right here. We're going to run that out through this hole like that. All these are, well, not all of these. We have to get power to the optical drive, but I'll do that later. But for now, what I like to do is just grab a wire tie. I save the wire ties for just such an occasion where I can now take each one of these spare cables, which is very long, sort of bundle them together neatly, not tangle them up. Just like that, one at a time, nice and neat, in an orderly fashion. Fold it in on itself. Grab one of these wire ties. These ones that come with power supplies are big and they're strong. For right now, sort of like a hair beret, I'm going to tie them up out of my eyes, right? So I don't want my hair in my eyes. I'm going to just temporarily wire tie them. That wire tie computer will not ship with any wire ties in it. We use nylon zip ties only. These wire ties, they get brittle over time. They break and they start floating around in the computer case. If they short circuit, because they are metal, if they fall against something that's behind a certain motherboard, for example, and smoke comes out, well, it's not going to be a happy customer. Let's see if that fan looks straight. Yeah, it's straight. Okay, so I ran the 24 pin out here, and then we'll run it back in right up here. Again, I apologize, you're not really getting much of a view here, but I will just plug this large 24 pin connector on. I have lots of other videos that detail close-ups of that. Now we just have to plug in the front port umbilical cables and give it power. I'll do the DVD drive later, because then I can begin to install Windows 10. And make sure that everything functions properly. We're just about ready for our first boot up, and we are under 2 hours in the build, hour and 43 minutes. So that's 48 minutes, under 2 hours. Because Eisen says, do I remember Marathon candy bars? Yeah, Marathon candy bars are sold as Curly Wurlies in England. And so if you want them today, just do an internet search, go on Amazon and look for a Curly Wurly. That's a Marathon bar. And you can have it shipped to you. I wouldn't ship in the summertime. It'll probably be a melted mess. But they're still made today in England. Curly Wurlies. Americans know them as Marathon bars. Used to eat those a lot when I was a kid. I need to get a cold Gatorade, and then I'm going to step around and do this front port management. Front port management? Did I just say that? You know, front port cable management. I'm not even going to do cable management. I'm going to hook the cables up. I'll do the cable management all the way at the end of the build once everything's done and making sure everything's working. Nothing worse than having to undo cable management that you spent so much time making perfect. It's the very last thing we do. So here's our USB 3 cable, and we have a USB 3 plug right there. So that can just snap on. This only goes on one direction. It's got a little notch on it. We just align it and push it on. That's it. We take the extra cable and push it out the back. Of course, we're going to have our front port audio cable. That's this round one right here. And we will route that around all these other cables. And even squeeze it right at the end of the power supply. There's a little gap. Sometimes if you have a short power supply, you get lucky. There's a pin missing. That pin is located on the bottom row, it looks like, on this board. This will only go on one way. It's a friction fit, which means there's no clips or anything. But make sure you get it on both rows of pins, or it ain't gonna work right. I better get my glasses and my flashlight. It's dark in there. Could be monsters. I don't know. Is it monsters in there? That one's on. And then, of course, we've got power switch, reset switch, power LED, and a hard drive LED. Just these 4 wires are all that's left. We're going to just make sure they're running around everything. I don't want to interweave the cables together. This is the time to correct any of that now, or I will have to undo it later to fix it. I think I kind of want it like this. Yeah, do a little crocheting while we're here. Remember that? Remember crochet? Isn't that a game you play with mallets and a ball in your backyard? That's croquet. Oh, isn't that a French roll? No. 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 Okay, all these connectors are the same on industry standard micro ATX and ATX boards. That's where the hard drive LED goes on. The first 2 pins on the bottom. The connectors only go on horizontally. They do not go on vertically. We do not connect the top and bottom rows of pins together. Next to the power switch is the reset switch. So find the one labeled reset SW. Positive or negative does not matter on a reset switch. We put it on the next 2 pins to the right of the hard drive LED, bottom row only. Power switch goes directly above the reset switch, horizontally only, does not connect bottom and top row ever. Strictly horizontal. And then we have the power LED, and the positive is important. So we make sure the positive power, the positive cable of the power LED goes towards the edge of the connector on the top row, directly above the hard drive LED, which also has its positive connector directly below. So both positive connectors are above each other. We only connect the rows horizontally. We do not connect them vertically. Your instruction manual will also detail this. That's it. We're ready to turn it on. Now's your time to place your bet. Will it turn on? Did we do it right? Fans are hooked up. These 2 fans will work. That fan will not be hooked up. All that's going to do is bring dust and crap in the case. If we had a discrete graphics card in here, we'd want the extra airflow. But because we don't, this will just sit as a brand new fan. So when this one dies, and it will die, Jack will have a spare he could swap out without having to spend any money. Also, the system will run cooler. It won't get all the crap in it. When that crap comes in, it's an insulator, like wearing a jacket. Makes parts run hotter. Also makes it messier to work on. So I've been doing this for over 10 years. I don't hook front fans up for that reason. And I do hook front fans up if there's a graphics card installed. But we're using graphics that's built into the CPU, so no big deal there. So let's do our test fire, and you can make your wager. Is it going to blow up? Is it going to work? I don't know. Jack's still with us? What do you think, Jack? You have faith? When we do a test fire, we only want to plug in the absolute bare minimum of anything needed for the system to boot up. So we don't want flash drives or printers. We don't want network connection or speakers. None of it. We just want monitor output. We got to have power, and we're going to need a keyboard and mouse. So let me grab a keyboard and mouse, and we'll fire this bad boy up, see what happens. Gee, I wonder if it's going to boot right on the first try. Oh, I don't know. Anything can happen. Never done this before. I'm going to plug the dongle that is for the wireless keyboard and mouse together. I'm going to plug it into the front USB ports. And that way, it kind of gives me a way of testing those without going out of my way to test them. I'm going to plug it in anyway. Now, I'm going to flip the switch to on. And we'll turn on the HDMI input, which is behind me, so I have to put myself in the corner. Don't put baby in the corner. Go right here. Look at me, I'm all Mr. Technical Editor guy. Switch is on, and then I'll hit the power button right here, and we should get fans spinning, lights on. It's going. Now, this could take up to 2 minutes, all right? On the first boot, it's training the memory, it's training the CPU, it's seeing what's installed. That first boot can take a nail-biting length of time. So relax, chill out, be cool. Be patient. Give it time to introduce itself. Hello, Mr. CPU, it's nice to meet you. Hello, Mr. RAM and Mrs. RAM, you're a very cute couple. Let me make sure I'm accommodating everything correctly for you. What is your performance? What is your CAS latency? Let me make those adjustments for you. I'll be with you in just a moment. Seems like it's taken a really long time though, doesn't it? This is like, oh man, this may not be working. Maybe I screwed it up. I don't know. No idea. Maybe I forgot to put a cable on, or I didn't press the cable in all the way. Maybe there's something wrong, or maybe I have issues with anxiety and I need to just take a chill pill and just give it a minute. This can take an eerie long period of time. However, I am getting a little concerned, but I'm not freaking out about it. You know, it's not going to turn on. I'm missing something, or I haven't seeded something right. Relax, it's fine. It's going to be okay. Still waiting. Not giving up yet. Sometimes I don't have my HDMI cable plugged in all the way. Sometimes it's not plugged in all the way on the back of the capture card. I want to just double check that because I have made that mistake enough times that I don't want to make that mistake anymore. But it feels like it's well seated in there. And now, by now, we should have seen something. It should have given us a post screen. Now, as far as I know, this board is brand new. It should work. The RAM is brand new. We have used the power supply in the past, so we know the power supply is good. So going off of that, we know it's not going to be the case. We know it's not going to be the heatsink, right? Because those things wouldn't affect whether or not the system posts. A post is a power on self-test. Now, when things go wrong, that's when you learn. If everything worked exactly like it was supposed to, then we didn't learn anything. We just confirmed what we already knew. There's a difference. Now, it's pretty clear to me this isn't booting. There's something wrong. So I'm going to just try one more time, just in case the cables weren't seated all the way. I want to just push down on the RAM, make sure that that's fully seated. I want to check my power cable and my CPU power cable. I'm going to pull on them and see if they fall off. They're not falling off. They feel secure. And everything else should be good to go. There's much fewer things to diagnose because I haven't plugged a bunch of unnecessary crap in, like flash drives and printers and network cables, right? And that's why we do this. And then we're going to turn it on one more time. Power light does come on, so I've got the power LED on in the correct orientation. And the fans are spinning, so the computer is reacting to the power switch the way that it should. That indicates, generally speaking, that things are functioning properly, but as far as the motherboard goes, it's highly unlikely that we have a bad CPU. That's pretty rare. And we know, as I mentioned, we've been using this power supply as a test power supply without issue. Now, I'm seeing something blink right about here on the board. I'm not sure what that is that's blinking. There's something right in there that's flashing orange. I don't know what that is. And this is where things get fun for me. Oh, look it. What I talked to you about patience, right? This isn't going to be the way it boots every time. What might be happening is that solid state drive is a used solid state drive. And there might be something on it that's holding the boot up, but that's okay. You see the system shut itself off. That's also okay. It's trained the memory and it's adapted to it. Now that it's adapted to it, it reboots with those adaptive settings. And now it's, there is something on this flash drive. It's booting into Windows. It's not supposed to do that. And it's even in UEFI mode. I don't even know what this flash drive is. So that's kind of weird. So I'll tell you what, I don't want to know. I don't know what this is. I'm going to just force the power off, which you shouldn't do unless you don't care about your data. And I don't care about this data because I want to format it. that might be a clone of somebody's hard drive. They could have private information on there. So I want to shut it off before it loads a desktop that might expose somebody's personal information. So I'm going to take my Windows 10 flash drive and I'm going to plug it in right here. We're going to do two things right now. Take this back. I'm not going to do that yet. I want to go check see if we have the latest version of the BIOS installed. So we're going to turn on, flip the switch. We're going to turn on one more time. Okay, it should boot up much, much faster. And we're going to go into the BIOS and we're going to see what version of BIOS that we have installed right now. So I'm going to just turn off camera 1 here so we can see the screen full screen. And I also need to make an adjustment on my side so I can see what you're seeing. So just bear with me for a second. This is sort of a behind the scenes technical thing I have to do. And now, is my mouse working? I have to turn the mouse on. There's a power switch on the mouse for that to work. And it should move now. And I want to look at BIOS. System. System says we're running BIOS version F5. Now, we want to check and see if there's a newer BIOS than this. And to do that, I'm going to go back to the streaming computer over here. And let's go full screen for you guys. Transform the screen. There we go. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to bring up my browser. And I'm going to do a little browsing. You feel like browsing? So I'm going to open a tab and that's going to bring me into Google, and now I can share my window with you here. Again, another behind the scenes technical part of running a YouTube channel that most people hide from you, and I don't have a choice, because if I don't do it myself, it won't get done. So you get to see how the magic is done. There we go. Now, we're going to go to Google search, and we are going to type in, we didn't even have to type gigabyte, because this model number, B365M DS3H, that's a Gigabyte model number. Nobody else makes it. The first link that comes up is from Gigabyte. If I click on that, you'll see it says support up here, and it says support over here. So this support is generic Gigabyte support, and this support is specific to the product that you're on the page for. And all motherboard manufacturers, the big four, Asus, ASRock, Gigabyte, and MSI, all have dual support options. I don't know why they do this, but when one does it, the others follow. So we'll click on support, and right over here under downloads, we're going to just scroll down and look under BIOS, and it says the latest version is F6E. We do have F5 here. So we're going to download F6E, and then we'll extract that to a flash drive. Now, I think I might have already done that. I don't know for sure. Let me plug this flash drive in and see if I've already got F6E on there. I do. I do. Look at me saving time. The reason I have it already in place is because I've got multiple B365M DS3H motherboards, and I knew I was going to need it again. So, thinking ahead, man. Just thinking ahead. So with this flash drive, it already has the files on it. We'll plug it into any available USB port in the back. We want to use the smallest flash drive possible. I use a 2 gig flash drive. You definitely want it to be formatted FAT32, especially the older the motherboard is. It may not see your flash drive if your flash drive is too big. So we want FAT32, which is a maximum 16 gig. So preferably, get the smallest flash drive you got. Finding a 2 gig flash drive, even a 4 gig flash drive these days is pretty tough. An 8 gig will work. Just make sure FAT32 format. You should be fine. Or you're just, you're going to email me and go, oh, I can't see my BIOS. I don't know why. Then I'm going to point you back to this point of the video and say, watch this again. And then we'll go around in circles until you follow the instruction. And then you'll say, hey, got it. That's never, ever happened to me before. from viewers reaching out. Now, let me go back to my screen here. Yeah. Okay, good. Sometimes, oops, what did I just do? Just move something. Oh, what did I do? There it goes. I guess if I double click on Audio Mixer on OBS, it pulls it out into a separate window, which overlapped the window I was trying to use to select my inputs. I have multiple skills: fixing computers, doing marketing, and producing and editing video while it's live content. What do they call it? I don't even know. Jack of all trades and master of none? No, that's not right, because I'm pretty good at it, except when I make mistakes. Anyway, I digress. Well, we're going to go down here. Wrong mouse. We're going to go down here, right down here. I'm going to go to QFlash, and I've given it time to recognize the flash drive, I hope. We'll say update BIOS, and it says unknown device. I don't want that. There's a mass storage device. So 365M. See, I've got 3 BIOSes on this flash drive. I advise you to only put 1 BIOS on the flash drive and nothing else, so you don't make a mistake. If you only have 1 file to choose from, you can't pick the wrong one. I'm a little smarter than the average bear when it comes to updating BIOSes, so on occasion I do have a flash drive with multiple BIOSes because I have boards that I'll be using again in the future, and I'm going to need the BIOS, and I don't want to re-download it again. So anyway, there's the 365. That's F6E. We'll give that a double click. Got to click it fast, I guess. There it goes, verifies it and updates it. Now just be patient. What I say about patience. And I want to do this preferably before I install Windows 10. So even though that drive I'm using had a previous install of Windows 10, I'm sure it's like 1909 or something old, and it'll be faster for me to reinstall Windows than to try and update this Windows. And furthermore, it'll have incompatible drivers, and while that might just be fine, my preference on a new build is to not experiment with my customers and make sure all customer builds have fresh, clean installs of Windows, and we're not doing any shortcuts that could have long-term effects that result in system instability or performance issues that could go undetected for a long time. So as long as we always consistently do them the same, what that means is when we use storage, we always reset it. We clean the storage, and we install Windows 10 fresh and clean every time. We never reuse a Windows 10 install on a new system build. And the only exception to that rule would be if a customer says, look, I want you to take my current operating system and programs and move it all over to the new system. To which I say, I can try, but you're not going to get the guaranteed performance and the guaranteed stability. You might not, but I can't guarantee it. In other words, if I have to come out and address issues, it's not under warranty. I'm going to charge you for that. But if it works and everything copies over, there still may be some applications you will have to reactivate. And it does work more times than not, but it's definitely never as good as a clean install. Never as good as a clean install. It's just about done with the BIOS update. You're hands off at this point, not moving the keyboard. We're not touching, not moving the mouse. We're not touching the keyboard. Just keep your hands off the whole time, and then let this do its thing. It's going to restart itself without us doing anything. And yeah. And it's probably going to try and boot into Windows now that I think about it, because I still haven't reset the flash drive, the solid state drive in there. So when it restarts, I will need to go into the BIOS by hand by pressing delete when I get the BIOS post screen, power on self-test screen with the Gigabyte logo. And I'm going to start pressing delete right now. Catch it before it tries loading into the solid state drive. And when we're in here, we'll go back over to system and see that we've got F5. Did I say F6E? Yeah, F6E, that's done. Good, good, good. Okay, all right, you still with me? So let's go back to camera one. Now, here's what we do from this point, is we're done with the flash drive, so we can unplug it. And now my Windows 10 flash drive can be plugged in. I want to use one of the blue USB ports because this is an expensive flash drive that's fast. I got to get stuff done. I don't have all day. So I spend more on my flash drive so I can do more in my day. With that, I'm going to hit the reset button, which is a good way to test the reset button. And I'm going to start pressing F12 on the keyboard, and we're going to go back to see what it's doing here. F12 should give me the boot menu, and then I will be able to select the SanDisk flash drive UEFI version. Sometimes you get a UEFI option here. Yeah, UEFI, that's the one I want. And now it's loading from the flash drive instead of loading from the solid state drive. Now, whenever we want to wipe out a drive without using the DOS clean command, since it's the only drive in the system, I don't have to worry about wiping out the wrong one. So we're just going to do the standard steps you see me always do on a Windows 10 install. But when we get to the point where it asks us where we want to install, we're going to see the installed drive has a bunch of partitions on it that we don't normally see on a new build. So after I enter the end user license agreement here, it's going to take me to the, screen I just discussed where it wants, where do we want to install? So we do the custom, always do custom, that doesn't change, but you see all these partitions? That's from some previous install that belonged to somebody else a long time ago. We don't need this anymore. And we're going to go through each one and select delete, like that, until there's nothing left. Well, there'll be one thing left. It'll say disk drive 0 unallocated space. This is what it would look like if it were brand new and never before used out of the box. So we've returned it to that condition. Now that it's in this familiar condition, we hit next. But we have erased everything off the drive. It's all gone now. Bye-bye. So don't do that lightheartedly, because you might end up accidentally erasing something you didn't mean to. So, be careful. We're going to let that install. So while it's installing, if there's any questions I can answer, please, this is the time to ask. We've got about 572 people watching live around the world right now. How cool is that? Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It's middle of the week. It's Wednesday. It's 6:24 p.m. Arizona time right now while we're live. Doing this machine here for viewer Jack in Texas. How you like it so far, Jack? Oh, I should have loaded the BIOS defaults. I forgot to do that. Don't have to worry about system date and time. That's going to autocorrect. Once Windows 10 is installed, I will then plug the Ethernet cable in, and when I go to Windows Update, it'll synchronize the date and time for me. So you don't have to worry about the date and time. You'll see we're already doing our first boot. It's pretty fast. And dead silent. Glenn's Music says you seem to have gotten over your cold. Yeah. Thank goodness. John Wilson, this is who we're calling Jack. John Wilson says, cool beans. That's who the system is for. Ali Assam says, I love Carrie and I'm from Egypt. Right on, Ali. Thanks for joining us here. Why the BIOS date is 7/22/2021? Probably because the board was assembled and configured in Taiwan, and I would imagine Taiwan is, I'm going to guess, more than 12 hours, well, at least more than 6 hours ahead of the time zone I'm in, which means that the date is a day ahead over there. So that's probably why the manufacturer sets the default date and time based on their time zone. So if the manufacturer was in Australia or something, you know, it's within reason of time zone differences. Does anybody know the maximum time zone difference? Anybody at all? So if you're within that window of time zone difference, then that would explain why the date is set that way. For example, in Belgium right now, it's 3:26 a.m., according to Patrick, and it's only 6:26 p.m. here in Arizona. So Patrick will be on July 22nd. We're still on July 21st because Patrick's in a different time zone. This is all standard stuff. I always answer the same way. I keep it unplugged from the internet during this initial setup. Otherwise, it forces me to create a Microsoft user account. I guess we'll just call this Jack. I can't see the screen though, so let me make it a little larger so I can see it on my side. Yeah, I spelled it right. Push enter. And we'll keep the password blank. And you know me, I turn everything off but location settings. Leaving that location setting on is what's going to set our time and date for us automatically once I feel that it's okay to plug it into the network. So that'll happen here in just a moment. In the meantime, I can go ahead and unplug this Windows 10 flash drive because we're not loading from that anymore. After your first boot, you don't need it. Doesn't hurt to leave it in either, but you know. Patrick said the maximum time difference is 23 hours. So if your time and date is set within 23 hours of when the manufacturer, you know, based on how it comes out of the box, that's within reason that they're in a different time zone, up to 23 hours difference from where you are. Nothing to freak out about, nothing to worry about, and nothing you really need to pay attention to, quite honestly. Obsessing over things that don't matter is really a form of illness. So I would advise you to practice learning the difference between what's important and what's not important, and focusing your energy and your efforts on things that matter. But that's just Uncle Carrie's advice about life. I have enough stuff in reality to worry about, like a lot. So if there's stuff that I don't need to worry about, I gladly let that go because it's overwhelming as it is. There's no reason to keep piling on. And it furthermore dilutes the value of things that you really should be worried about. Just taking away your time and attention from important things to worry about unimportant things. Now that we've come up to the desktop here, now I can plug it into the network, which I will do. It will grab those Windows updates, and you'll see that date and time will auto-correct itself as soon as I find a network cable. Ah, yes. Hidden under the chainsaw. Isn't that where you keep yours? Everybody's doing that. We'll plug that bad boy in. Again, I'm still not plugging much in. No speakers, no printers. We're still in the setup and the test phase. So if anything goes wrong, we have a very limited number of items to diagnose. This leads to less stress, less anxiety, and a faster repair, if a repair is needed. Now that's loaded, and now we'll go to Windows Update here. Just go right here, and update and security, and check for updates. And this is where it will set the date and time for us. Matt says, actually, there are weird places on Earth that are plus 14 UTC time zone, so 26 hours is possible. More or less, if you're within 2 days of your date of any product that comes pre-assigned with a date and time, it's very reasonable to conclude that was just the date and time of the factory, the time zone where it was in its final, whenever the date and time is applied, which I would guess would be somewhere down the line of the quality control check, down the line of manufacturing towards the end. I don't know, but regardless, a time zone is a time zone. So, yeah. Let me take a quick look at what this is asking me. It looks like it's already ready to restart, but it's still downloading, and I hate to interrupt it. It's giving me the restart now, but it's still in the process of working. So I'm going to be patient, let it finish that. I don't want the App Center, so we'll cancel that. I can open the browser just to get rid of the annoyance there. So we open this up, complete setup, continue without signing in. And it gives us this welcome tab. So we had 2 tabs that open. All right, whatever. Close it, and then let's reopen it, make sure we're multitasking. We're not interrupting the updates at all, not slowing it down. That's better. That's good. And then we'll let that run. Okay, so back to looking at the chat room. Let me see if there's any questions here. Can I overclock my RAM on a Dell laptop? Should be 24 megahertz, but Task Manager read it as 2133. And I think you're worrying about something that doesn't matter. Your RAM doesn't run faster at 2400 megahertz. It can, when you set your RAM faster, you're setting your RAM's maximum speed. You're not setting the constant speed. So if you're never pushing the RAM to begin with, you'd never reach the speed anyway. You also would likely see a 0 difference of performance impact, and this is information poison. You see, you have been given information that has poisoned your mind. You have something that's working perfectly well, but now you've been given information that results in reality of maybe a fraction of a millisecond of difference in performance if you push the computer hard enough to result in that, which no human being would ever notice. Only benchmarking software, for the most part, would notice such an insignificant timing difference of frequency of the RAM. And your laptop is functioning 100%, so why would you screw it up? Why would you do that? My advice to you is stop poisoning your mind with information that is giving you technochondria. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, if your Dell laptop was advertised at running at 2400 megahertz RAM, then you need to contact Dell support. See, a lot of laptops don't let you get in there because it results in customers self-inflicting errors and resulting in costly support calls for Dell. So they restrict a lot of BIOS settings from their end users who self-create problems and then want to blame Dell for their issues. If it's broken, fix it. But if it's working, don't fix it. There's nothing to fix. You've poisoned your mind with information. If you were happy with your laptop, and then you saw this little bit of information that's totally insignificant to reality, now you're not happy with the laptop. You did that to yourself. So the reality is, you're not going to really see any difference in the difference between 2133 and 2400. You're just not going to. It's just information on your screen. If that screen came back and said it was running at 2400, if it lied, you'd be totally happy right now because you wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't be able to tell from how the laptop feels. Therefore, this is all self-induced, self-inflicted, completely voluntary, and it's almost like your laptop's running too well and you're bored and you're looking for something to challenge it, to break it. So I'm not going to condone that, and I'm not going to encourage you. I would suggest, again, if Dell advertised it at running at 2400 megahertz and it's not running as advertised, you take that up with Dell. The amount of people I see online that cause self-inflicted voluntary problems for no good reason drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely crazy. But if anybody has a real problem, I'd be glad to help you with a real technical problem, not an imaginary one, not one you're afraid of having in the future, but one you actually have right now, an actual problem. I would love to help you resolve that. It's pretty rare that anybody actually asks one, though. Anybody? Any real actual problems anybody has? Victor wants to know what model of USB flash drives I use. We use the SanDisk Extreme line. SanDisk Extreme. flash drives. They're available up to 1 terabyte in size. Still installing here, so just let that run a little bit longer. Media says is it like having a 1 terabyte SSD but it only sees 935 and having 16 gig but only sees 15.9? No. A 1 terabyte hard drive is a 1 terabyte hard drive. Windows reports the size differently than the manufacturer, but it's the same size. You know, if I said I weighed 16 stone, right? I don't even know what a stone is. But, you know, if I said I weigh 160 pounds, we're reporting the same thing 2 different ways. So it's not it's not like you have less, it's the same. When it comes to RAM, the reason that we only have a certain amount of RAM usable is because we're using built-in graphics. If you ever buy a graphics card, the graphics card will advertise how much RAM it has on the graphics card. Well, we don't have a graphics card with RAM. We have a graphics card on the CPU, and it's got to get RAM from somewhere, so where's it going to pull the RAM from? What would you do? You take RAM from the system that's already there. It's not rocket science. I have these videos called Quick Tips, where I have addressed both of these questions. They have over, I want to say over 20,000 views. Please check out my Quick Tips videos where I answer the most frequently asked questions in under 10 minutes. Just type in Kerry Holzman right here in YouTube search. Kerry Holzman is one word, space, Quick Tips. And there's, I don't know, 100 videos that are under 10 minutes each, with a few exceptions, where I answer the most commonly asked questions. Please watch them, because that way I don't have to keep repeating myself. Let's see how we're doing here on the screen. So it says it's still downloading, although it's telling us we can restart. It said restart for quite a while, and it said that and I've ignored it. It went ahead and finished downloading and installing other updates. And if I wait long enough, it'll start to install this one as well. But I'll go ahead and restart now. It doesn't hurt anything. It wouldn't offer us the option if it was going to damage anything. But it does postpone whatever progress it made to start over again on the reboot. So my preference is to let it sit and do all that. If it's sitting a little too long and I get impatient, I just go ahead and say, that's fine, I'll start it over again, whatever. So we're gonna, let me go to delete. I didn't catch it. I need to reset the BIOS, the load optimized defaults. I just forgot to do that. I'll do it next time. Hopefully the date and time are correct now. Hey, look at that. Date and time are correct. I didn't have to touch a thing. We're going to go back to Windows updates. Why does it say Windows Insider Program? I don't want that. Windows Update. Yeah, see, it's kind of stuck where it was before. We'll go ahead and grab these driver updates here that are optional. It's probably a lot of Intel driver stuff. Those are little tiny downloads. We'll grab those and install them real quick. And then we're just going to have to be patient here for a minute and let this, whatever this is, this cumulative update is going to take a little bit. This download error is nothing to worry about here. That should self-resolve after whatever this is done. I like to clean up the start menu while I'm kind of waiting, so just unpin some stuff here. I do that because my customers universally hate these tiles. They hate them. I don't have one customer who likes these. So I unpin them. And if the customers, you know, if I should ever encounter a customer that wants them, they can put them right back. The benefit of doing this, of course, is that when I close the start menu now and open it from this point forward, it looks more familiar as a narrow start menu. I can also go back into the control panel, just right back here. It's going to let me? Yeah, we'll go to apps, and we can uninstall some little tiny files here that Microsoft puts in there. Stuff I know we don't want, like Groove Music. We're going to use VLC instead of Groove Music. VLC will also replace the movies and TV. And this Microsoft Office is just like a thing to sell you Office, and it stays on even after you install Office. So we get rid of that. Mixed Reality Portal, we get rid of that. I don't have anybody who wants it, or even most of my customers don't know what it is and don't know, even if I explain it to them, they're like, well, why would I want that? You probably don't. This Xbox Live stuff I can remove, but I can't remove the other two Xbox things. Or no, there's just one other one. I can't remove that one. Let me just take a quick look through here. If there's anything else I want to dump out of this, just clean it up a little bit here. Looks good. Then we'll go back to Windows Update. That's still running in the background. We'll just, let's see, I'll skip for now on that. Go back over here, update, and it's going to just continue where it's left off. My hard drive light is blinking like crazy, so it's doing something. So we'll just let it sit for a while, and eventually it should begin installing. John wants to know if I've looked at Classic Shell. We used to use Classic Shell in Windows 8.1 to get that start menu to look back like Windows XP or Windows 7. But after Windows 10, Classic Shell required an update. It started causing problems for customers. For a lot of customers, it just went away. It just didn't work anymore. It just sat it was consuming resources, but it was doing nothing. And because the Windows 10 menu is so much better, Classic Shell is no longer necessary, and it's just another piece of software you have to update that could potentially break your system after an update. So I no longer recommend Classic Shell. But if you're still running Windows 8.1, then I would recommend Classic Shell because it was a great solution in Windows 8. In Windows 10, it's unnecessary. If you know how to configure the Windows 10 Start menu, it's much easier to use than Windows 8 Start menu. And the need for Classic Shell, you know, if this was 8 years ago, I'd be all for it. But today, not so much. But, you know, look, it's a free application. And if you want to inject that onto your machine, feel free. But I don't condone it. I don't recommend it. But to each his own. Patrick says, I use the Microsoft Media Creation tool. And when I go to use it, it does not give me the option to pick Home or Pro. It will only install Home. My guess is you're installing your product key. And when you put your product key in, that product key is good for a specific version of Windows only. If you don't have a product key, then Microsoft doesn't know what version of Windows to install. Now, if you have a pre-built machine that has a product key built into the BIOS, an embedded key, then it's possible it's pulling the embedded key and the associated product. Garcia Boy 80 says, after building my new PC, I have lines scrolling down my screen on occasion. What can cause this? Interference. Something is causing your screen to display interference. And that could be some big electrical equipment that might be near you. It could be an air conditioner on the other side of the wall. Some big power magnet is causing this disruption to your screen signal. So the easiest way to fix that is to pick up your screen and move it to a different wall. Physically relocate it, and that'll probably fix it. Or you could have a bad cable. The cable that feeds from the computer to the monitor may be bad or not plugged in all the way. Double check that it's fully seated at both ends. And you don't do that by pushing it in. You do that by pulling the cable out and plugging it back in on both sides. You can also buy a more expensive cable. Stop buying cheap crap. Buy an expensive cable that's shielded. That could also help that problem. However, if it is something that is affecting the screen that's not coming in from the feed, then only physically moving the monitor away from that source of interference will resolve that issue you describe. Or perhaps buying a different monitor that has better shielding would also fix that problem. But the cheapest solution is for you to just pick the monitor up and move your desk, relocate it to a different wall. Something on the other side of the wall or in the wall that when it's turned on is causing those lines to appear. We call that interference. Patrick Rusaw says he's not putting a product key in. So this is a pre-built machine, Patrick, I guess. Windows cannot know what version of Windows to install without a product key. So maybe you've got a stuck mouse button, try a different mouse. Or maybe you didn't use, I don't know where you sourced your installation files from, but if you do it the way I do it, you're going to get the same results I get. So my question to you is, what are you doing differently? Are you trying to install on a pre-built machine? Did you source your files from a different source? Did you follow all of my steps? And are you using the current version of Windows, or did you grab it from Hyadoc or something and you're trying to install an older version of Windows? There's a piece of information you're not providing me. And that's why you're having the problem. And you don't know to provide me that piece of information, because if you did, you would solve your own problem. So that's where we're hung up. But there's a piece of information you're not giving me right now. There's something different about what you've done or where you sourced your files that is not the way I show in my videos. That's why you're not getting the same result as I am. There we go. Now I think I can restart this computer. There we go. Shannon says she thinks she's the only girl here. I don't know. Patrick says, I followed your steps in the video. No, you didn't. I can almost guarantee you did not. You didn't follow them closely. You didn't pay attention to a detail. The only way you're going to get a different result is if you're doing something different, which means, like I said, if you're installing on a pre-built machine with an embedded product key code, if you sourced your Windows from a different source, if you have installed it in a different way. So I'm sorry, but you're not doing everything to the exact detail that I do it, and I don't know what it is you're doing. Like I said, it's there's a piece of information you're not giving me. That much I know for sure. Don't know what else to tell you, Patrick. Until you provide me the rest of the information, I can't carve out any more information for you. If you do everything precisely the way I do it, you will get precisely the same results. So you're doing something differently. This is a question you're going to have to really look at yourself, start over again, follow my videos precisely, because you're not. I'm telling you right now, you're not. I've had this discussion with so many people. They're like, I did everything right. Never once. Never once. Well, one time. One time, customer did everything right. And that was when we had that year 3000 problem. Remember that? That's the only time in recent memory a customer did everything right, followed my steps exactly, and still had an issue. And that's when I said, I have to see it. So Patrick, like a problem like yours, Patrick, I have to see it. But 99 times out of 100, people say exactly what you're saying until they realize what they've done differently, and then they apologize to me. So I don't want to say the quality of the answers is very much dependent on the quality of the information included in the question. It's frustrating for me. Craig Casabana contributes $5. Carrie, have you ever had a USB 2.0 problem on a Gigabyte motherboard? No. Nope. Give me just a second. I just want to restart that while we're waiting. Back to your question. I just want to know because I have a USB 2.0 problem with the Aorus Elite version 2. Yeah. So Gigabyte doesn't manufacture boards with USB 2 problems. How do they stay in business? But sometimes a board has an issue. Sometimes a user creates the issue. I've seen where users have something stuck in the USB port. It could be a piece of a USB drive, or they have children that jam something into it, or they've bent something, or the grounding strap has gone into it when they put the I/O shield, or when they put the motherboard in, it didn't line up correctly, and they're unknowingly causing their own damage. In cases like this, I recommend you talk directly to Gigabyte. It is not an issue. That is typically, you have a problem with the board, and I don't know if it's a factory problem or a user-created problem until I see it. But it is not something normal. David Zins with $10 says, Carrie, we have a metal fabrication business with 8 computers in the office with a server. Now our IT guy is dragging his feet, updating a computer from Windows 7 to 10. Are we jeopardizing the security of the server? Yes, of course you are. Windows 7 is not a supported operating system anymore. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and thank you for the contribution. And Craig, thank you for the contribution. Vern, going back to that monitor question, Vern says, you know, your monitor could be going bad. That's a valid point, Vern. That's absolutely possible. You could be having a monitor that's starting to fail. So sometimes you get the lines in it. Yeah, good point, Vern. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, we've got all our Windows updates installed. I still want to go into BIOS and reset defaults on it. So I think what I'll do is I'll load my Windows 10 Optimizer and Netfix tool on here real quick. We'll get those out of the way. Let's get rid of this thing. News, where's the news and interests? Turn off. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the Microsoft Store. We'll just unpin it. Please don't use this built-in email program, people. Let's unpin this. Yeah, we'll go here. We'll go here. And we'll grab Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Netfix tool and Windows 10 Optimizer. Oh, let's install VLC real quick. Put this on. This replaces Microsoft's built-in media player, so we can play music and movies, and we don't have to worry about ever downloading any codecs. That's how people get viruses. If VLC won't play it, it's probably not a valid file. Try and force it to play unless you want to risk getting a virus. So that's done. We'll run the Netfix tool. This turns all of the sharing settings on, in case Jack wants to share this on his network. He would still have to choose what to share. So it's not like we're opening his computer up to hackers or anything like that. It's just enabling like the Discovery service and things like that, so we can see the network, which by default are turned off for security reasons. It needs to restart to apply these settings, but I'm going to postpone the restart so I can then run the Windows 10 Optimizer tool, which also needs a restart. So we'll do that real quick. And then while that's running, I can eject. Again, I don't need to safely eject, but we'll just go ahead and pull the flash drive. We're done with that. And now we'll reboot, and now I will go into the BIOS and set those optimized defaults. It should occur here in a moment. So as soon as that Gigabyte logo right there, I'm going to start pressing delete. That's going to take me into the BIOS. I'm going to move all the way to the end here where it says save and exit at the top of the screen. And then I'm going to select load optimized defaults and press enter twice. And then I will save and exit setup. Now, whether or not this made any changes, I don't know, but at least I know it's right. I don't have to guess anymore. So that's tuned and optimized. Now we can see what our actual Windows boot time is going to be. Not too bad, Jack, huh? It's pretty quick. We've got all our Windows updates. We've got VLC on there. So we still have to activate Windows. And we go through a couple of little things here that wants me to sign into account protection, stuff like that. And, you know, I like to change the default homepage to Google, the default search engine to Google. Those are my preferences. It's usually what I do for customers. And that's pretty much all I have to do. Everything else is cable management. We can get it buttoned up, shipped out pretty quickly. I can get another computer out of here, which makes me happy. And yeah, let's go back to camera one. Camera one, full screen. Oh, that's full screen for me, not for you. Transform to full screen. Fit to screen. There it is. There's a button for that, Control F. I should have just did Control F. Okay, and here we are. Alex Polk contributes $5. He says, I just used your link to purchase Microsoft Office, and thanks for the discount. Here's a small contribution towards your future builds. Right on, Alex. Thank you so much. I hope you'll join us Friday, Mitch and I. I hope I get all the parts in tomorrow. I'm waiting on one part. I'm waiting on the CPU. It's a pretty expensive part, and I can't do the build without it. No substitute compatible CPUs. So I hope you'll tune in. John Wilson, the guy who's getting the computer, says, right on, my friend, you have said it just the way I like it. That's awesome, John. I know John wanted a graffiti on his computer. Oh, he wanted two things. He wanted a handcrafted by Kerry Holzman badge. Only people I build computers for get those. They're not for sale. You can get an inspired by Kerry Holzman badge at kerryholzman.com or shopkerryholzman.com. They're sold there. They're $20 a pop, and the proceeds go towards the channel. But they're metal with double-sided sticky tape. And a silver Sharpie for a personal autograph. So let's come around here. And I don't know where you want this, Jack. I usually put it on the back like that because I think it looks good back there. This is what it looks like close up. Like I say, the only way you get one of these is if I build your computer. This camera isn't focusing. There it goes. It's a metal badge engraved with double-sided sticky tape on the back. I don't know where you want it. I just think it looks better back here personally, but nobody's going to see it if I do that. Let's unplug that and unplug that. You'd unplug that. Turn this around. You know what I could do? You know, he's got an extra one of these. I could write on this, and then if he doesn't like it, he could pop it out. He wants this on the front. Suppose we could put it down there. How am I going to do this? I don't normally write on my knees. Oh, let's see. It's July. And this I'll go right down there. That looks pretty good. I can push it down. It ain't never coming off. Is that all right, Jack? I can't tell you how much help Jack has been to this channel. His support and his contributions have been extraordinarily generous. And it's because of him that nearly every veteran giveaway that I had to ship has been more or less financially covered by the shipping costs, financially covered by Jack. Just so you guys know. Red Horse says, hey, Kerry, mine is running great. Right on. Good to see you. What time tomorrow? Not tomorrow, Friday. Friday at 1 o'clock. I always do videos live Friday at 1 p.m. And usually, if Mitch Morrison is joining me, it's Fridays at 1 o'clock. That Mitch. I don't have a normal set schedule except Fridays at 1. As long as the channel remains a free channel, unfortunately, because I'm not being paid, I can't prioritize it over other work that comes in. So the regular work comes first, and if time permits, I make a video, except Fridays. I hope to expand that. If the channel grows, if maybe I start memberships and people start paying for the content, then we can do more shows more often on a schedule that's expected. But for free, it is what it is, as time permits. And then, as I mentioned, when the Fridays at 1 o'clock are the only exception, but I'm looking to expand that. I used to never even have a set schedule at all. So the fact that I'm doing and dedicating myself to Fridays at 1 is step in the right direction. I told everybody that was coming. It's been that way for about 3 months, and I intend to keep it that way, except if I'm on vacation or something like that. Mortmont says, hey, that's a nice build, Carrie. Hey, Mortmont, we got to get one done for you too. Thank you. Carrie, why not link Amazon US affiliates with UK, and then you will earn commission off all of us? I mean, I do have a number of viewers in the UK, but I have not had the time. What you're asking me to do requires filling out forms and getting approved and then putting the links. And none of that is doing any work. It's not getting my customers taken care of. It's not making any videos. So unfortunately, it's just too time consuming for me at this juncture, but maybe something I'll revisit in the future. I mean, I've got viewers in France. I got viewers in Canada. I got viewers in Australia. I've got viewers in India. I've got viewers in Japan and in Sweden and in Thailand. So, I mean, if I can do Amazon links to all of them, why wouldn't I? But each one requires, you got to fill out these forms, and you got to keep it all straight and generate links individually for each one. It's just a royal pain in the butt. So that could be a part-time job, just doing that. Just behind the scenes administrative YouTube nonsense. So I appreciate the thought. It's just very labor intensive, and I am way too busy right now. Tony Wallow says, that's a great build. Hey, Tony, thank you. Matt Power says it's 12% faster now that I've got the Go Faster sticker. Go Faster sticker on it. Yeah, like I said, I've got so many computers in here, I am getting overwhelmed. So I need to address this and get these things moving out of here. And the ones that are the easiest, or the ones that are generating money, are going first. And then the ones that require a bit more time and care, I'll do those as time permits. I want them all out ASAP. So I know people are anxious to receive them, and I'm anxious to get them out to you. There is only one of me. So as a reminder to myself, I do need to hook this optical drive up still. And then of course we've got the cable management to do. And we got that little dent up here, but it's barely, it's significant when you're standing in front of it, but from a distance you can barely notice. There's a little dent in there. I hope that power supply works well for you, Jack. I'm sort of experimenting with Enermax. It's got a good warranty on it, and it's easy to exchange if it should die on you. But I think it's probably going to be fine. The quality on these has been, so far as I can tell, identical to the EVGAs that I've been using. So time will tell. Joseph Zins contributes $5 again. He says, hey, Carrie, are channels like Linus Tech Tips applying thermal compound incorrectly, putting a glob on versus you spreading it out? You can pretty much put it on any way you want to. Whether you spread it out or glob it on or put a pattern of a Z or an X, it all pretty much does the same thing. The reason I spread it out is I need to know that I'm covering 100% of the heat spreader, because nearly 100% of the heat spreader is now covering dies. So back in the day, it was only the middle. So as long as you covered the middle, the edges didn't really matter. So now it's important that more important now than ever before, that you have thermal compound across the entire heat spreader. So how do you know that you're covering your heat spreader properly? If you just put a glob and push the heatsink down, what's going on under there? I mean, you'll know if you put too much on because it'll ooze out the sides. But what if you put too little on? How would you know? But ultimately, at the end of the day, it probably doesn't make much difference. But I have a bit of OCD, and I like to make sure it's all done correctly, to my standard, not to Linus's standard, not to your standard, not to anybody's standard. And I recommend you put your thermal compound on to your standard. And if it worries you that much, then get off your butt and test it. Take your cooler off, try different methods of thermal compound application, try different thermal compounds. If you want the cliff notes on it, it's not going to make any significant difference. 1 or 2 degrees maximum of one way or the other. And your room temperature is changing, and that's a 1 to 2 degree variance in room temperature. So you're probably at a nil. You're back at 0 on the difference. But if you don't believe me, try it yourself, and then you won't have to ask people. But at the end of the day, it probably doesn't really matter. Do it however you want to do it. Linus can do it however he wants to do it. Remember, I'm held financially responsible for these machines. I'm held accountable. The consequences affect me directly. So I don't care how anybody else does it, because I'm not held financially accountable for their work. Planet Cryos with a $2 contribution. Hey, thank you, Planet Cryos. And Joseph, thank you again for your contribution and your questions. And Jack contributes $100. He says, so as a vet, I will pay for the shipping to me. Hey, right on, John. I don't think this will cost $100 from Arizona to Texas. It's probably about 80. But thank you. Thank you very much. As always, Jack. Rakshit Patel contributes $3.99. He says, thanks again for the wonderful content. Hey, thank you for hanging out with us today, Rakshit. And Kazison says, thank you for, at Joseph Zins, he says, thank you to Joseph for providing a way to keep these streams free for everyone. Right on. That's exactly what it's about. The small contributions add up. If 508 viewers all gave $1 today, that's if 508 viewers gave $1, I would be $508 richer, and it would exceed the amount of revenue we've collected during today's live stream by nearly double for $1. However, I'm not charging for the content. It's purely voluntary. It's like a tip. Basically, never expected, always appreciated. That's all. So thanks to Jack for today's content. So you can say it's John Wilson in the chat room. You can give John a thank you. He's hanging out in there now, because without viewers like Jack, there's less content that I have. And without viewers like Jack, there's less financial means for me to take time away from work to do this. So on two levels, Jack has been very supportive here to the channel by providing the ability to make the content on top of providing, in this case, the content to make. So that's unusual, and I appreciate it very much. And you guys should know that. If you guys like the content like this and you want to see more like this, you can let any content creator know if you want to see more of their content, similar style of content, to keep doing what they're doing by giving the thumbs up button a little clicky. Cost you nothing. You just do this and click once. It's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than actually making a live stream. So it's a nice gesture if you feel like you want to be nice. Share a little love on the internet. There's enough hate. There's enough spitting venom. If you want to share a little love with any content creator, you just click like. Cost you nothing. It really doesn't result in much difference, honestly. It doesn't pay me any more money. It doesn't make me any more popular. But it shares love and kindness. Even if the video is terrible, you can still share love and kindness. And of course, if you enjoy the channel and you've not yet subscribed, be sure and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified anytime I have a new video, hit the bell icon, and that will notify you. However you choose to be notified, you go into your YouTube settings and you can pick if you want messages on your phone. If you want your phone to alert you, you got to download the YouTube app and sign into it, and make sure that you go to your phone settings and allow notifications from YouTube. So that's one way to be notified. Otherwise, you would, as I mentioned, Fridays at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which is currently also Pacific time right now. Changes halfway through the year, but for right now, 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time is the same as 1 o'clock Pacific. Fridays. You'll catch me and Mitch Morrison doing a build. This build coming up this Friday, I'm telling you, man. I so hope I get those parts in, because this is going to be outrageous. Stupid. Stupidly outrageous. Marty OL contributes $5. Hey, Marty, thank you so much. Travis McVeigh contributes $20. Hey, Travis, thank you. He says, you are amazing. Oh, thank you. You guys are sharing the love. Ready or Not contributes $10. He says, thanks again. Business Marketing contributes $5. Planet Cryos, another contribution, $20 this time. And he said, well, with that said, here's a tip. Hey, thank you, Planet Cryos. Fred Sunderman with $10 said, here you go, Carrie. I'm glad to support a worthwhile cause. And Viper JS, or J5, sorry, contributes $2. He says, this is the best YouTube channel ever. Thanks, Carrie. And Richard Angeline with $5 says, free content, free $5. I like the way you think. Barry Russ contributes $2 and he says, thanks. So Barry, Richard, Viper, Fred, Cryos, Business Marketing, Ready or Not, Travis and Madi, thank you guys so much. I really do sincerely appreciate your generosity. You're doing something you don't have to do. And it means a lot to me because I know you don't have to do that. And again, time I'm not working, time I'm spending here on YouTube, I've got to justify that. I've got bills to pay like everybody else. And I would love to do this full time. And I'm working to that end. That's my goal, is to be able to do this full time. But for right now, still do my regular day job and this job. I work 2 jobs. And I'm loving it. Absolutely love it. So thank you for letting me, what's the word? You're enabling me to pursue this. Your support, whether you're using Amazon links, whether you're just sharing the videos with people in social media, or you are contributing financially, or you're buying a system, or whatever way that you're contributing and showing your support is greatly appreciated, because all of it matters. All of that matters. Or I just go back to making videos, you know, like I used to, which is, you know, once a month, and I just make a video for the hell of it. But I obviously enjoy it. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. And, you know, even though sometimes there's some questions that get asked repetitively over and over, and I get a little sort of like, oh, here we go again, you know, I get a little frustrated with it. It's still good as a reminder for people new here that I have a lot of content. And sometimes your question might already be answered, and you don't necessarily have to sit through a 3-hour video to find it. The quick tips are intentionally designed to get you the answer fast. So you're not, you know, suffering through my soapboxing. But anyway, they're massively underviewed videos, in my opinion. And the Quick Tips channel has its own channel. Carrie Holzman Quick Tips has its own channel. So subscribe to that if you enjoy getting, you know, cutting to the quick, if you will. Then that is a channel right up your alley, and information is extracted out of these long videos and then titled, thumbnailed, and all the administrative work that goes into a YouTube video is all done for that one little quick video that nobody watches. Very few people watch. Let's change it. Or maybe I just need to quit doing that. What about the 4-man build? This is the 4-man build. Yeah. It requires the efforts of 4 people to do this build on Friday. It will require a little help from Planet Cryos to help create a thumbnail for me. It's going to require a camera operator to be able to move around the room while Mitch and I can focus on doing the build together, so that Mitch and I are not operating the camera as well. And then, of course, there's Mitch and I. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 people. They don't have to be men. It just has to be 4 people. And that's presuming I get the parts, but that's the build I'm talking about, yeah. Michael Dane said he's getting ready to start on his 60-second computer giveaway that he's giving to a family in his community. How amazing is that? 62 computers. That means Michael has given away 61 computers to families in his community. And he's on number 62 right now that he's going to deliver to another family in need in his community. And he's a member of our community. You know, very lucky to have him, and we're very, very humbled. I am humbled by, you know, I try and give away a lot here, but I can't keep up with Michael. He's a machine. Wild One says, Carrie, I upgraded Windows 7 Pro OEM to a Windows 10 for a customer. Now I replaced the motherboard, so I bought a new OEM Pro key. Okay, let me just stop for a minute. You've really confused me here. Why are you telling me about something and then saying, forget everything I just told you? So whether or not you upgraded from Windows 7 to 10 is irrelevant. You didn't need to tell me that. He says he replaced the motherboard and he bought a new Windows 10 Pro key. Okay, that's where you needed to start your question. But Microsoft says it's the wrong type of key. I've not done a clean install as it's time critical. Any ideas? Oh, yeah, you got to do the clean install. So now I understand why you told me you upgraded it, because you didn't. When you replace the motherboard, you really shouldn't carry over the operating system. I understand it's time critical, but you might find out that you're spending way more time than if you just do it the right way. You're trying to take a shortcut, and sometimes shortcuts take twice as long. You should be able to continue to use the product key you have. Not the one you bought recently, but the one before that. And you need to call Microsoft and talk to them and explain that you had to replace the motherboard. But honestly, it's amazing to me how much time people will spend on something because they don't want to spend less time starting over. I think you would start over and have this all done right. And not only that, it'll be more reliable and more secure since you're not carrying over the upgrade, right? You have all these extra Windows 7 registry entries and files laying on that drive, which are a serious security concern and a performance degradator. Degradator? Yeah, it's degrading your performance. That system will never be as reliable or as fast until you do a clean install. There's no exception. So if you're willing to sacrifice your performance and your security and your time so that you don't have to spend the time doing it the right way, this is a choice you made. This is typical and this is to be expected, unfortunately. And Microsoft is locking down these product keys, so they're getting more difficult to speak to. But if you call Microsoft, there's a number that says activate by phone when you try to activate Windows. Set it back to the original product key, and then explain to Microsoft that you just had to rechange your motherboard out. And you've only installed this on one computer because it looks to Microsoft like you're trying to use the same product key. So set it back to the original product key, activate by phone, and you need to physically talk to somebody on the phone. And then they should be able to give you a code. But I don't advise you to do it. I just think all you're going to do is create another problem down the line. Statistically speaking, you're going to have more problems. You'll make it work today, but it probably won't hold up over the weeks and months ahead. You'll start being weird crashes and weird errors. That's usually what happens. Just so you know. So you can set your expectations. Maybe you get lucky, but that's up to you. I've been down that road, man. I've been down that road so many times now. I don't want to go back down it. You want to go down it, you go down that road without me. This is why I'm so negative about that, because I've had a very negative experience over and over and over to the point where I don't do it anymore. Or if I do it, as I mentioned earlier, I tell the customer, if I do this, it's no guarantee. I can make it work. I can get it activated. It's a pain in the butt, but I can do it. But after that, it's back on you. So if you have a problem tomorrow or next week or next month, I will help you with it for a fee, but I will not do it for free. I do not like green eggs and ham. Jack wants to know, on the streamer, what is the RGB waterfall thing next to the RAM? Oh, that's just an RGB cable. It's a kit you can buy. This one's a Strimer from Leon Lee. And it's like a power cable extension unit. And what they've done is they You take the big 24 pin connector off your power supply, and instead of plugging it into the motherboard, you plug it into this. And this has power cables, but on the other side, it's got these clear tubes. And then this side plugs into the motherboard, and then the lights shine through this thing and they have to be plugged in. And it just lights up in different patterns and brightnesses. They're about $50. They were all sold out. They were limiting one per person for this nonsense garbage. So it's just nonsense garbage. You might as well put hubcaps on a lawnmower. But you know, I'm streaming in front of thousands of people and they like looking at this blinky, shiny stuff. I give them what they want. I would never do this if I wasn't live streaming, if I wasn't making videos for the public. If this was in my house, for me, I wouldn't put all that crap on there. It's a big waste of money. But as a YouTube content creator, people look at it, it caught your attention. It's a marketing thing. It's just marketing, man. It's intended to do just what it did. But it's no difference on performance, reliability, or security. It's just hitting the wallet for some blinky lights. Eric Coppin says, Carrie, I love watching your channel. My son and I both decided we should donate to your awesome channel. Plus, we both felt it necessary to donate a little to you tonight. Oh, that's kind of you. It's never necessary, you know? Never feel like you have to. That's not right. But, you know, we're all a community here. You want to show a little support. I appreciate that, but never feel like you have to. Please. Larry Wood said he enjoyed tonight's build. Hey, thank you, Larry. Trevor says, likes help the YouTube calculator for your channel. No, they don't. No. That's a very common misconception. It typically comes from people who've never made or never been a content creator and have a very loose understanding of how YouTube works. The likes don't really help the way you think they do. Primarily, what the likes are doing is providing suggestions to you. It's sort of like Netflix might ask you, did you like this movie? Do you like this content? Or Spotify, did you like this song? Or you never want to hear the song again. The more they know about you, the better the suggestions of other content they can make for you. So it's the exact opposite of what you think it is. It's not about me. It doesn't really benefit search engine optimization for having likes and dislikes. That's a common misconception. And if it does have a difference, it's maybe, 8% of a difference of your search engine, of your YouTube's not recommending me based on likes or dislikes to that level. They are recommending videos to you based on what you like and dislike, right? So by telling YouTube you like something, then YouTube will offer more content that they think you will also like. That's all it does. That's all it does. But it's a nice little show of love to a content creator to give them that thumbs up because there's so many haters on YouTube. I think the best way to conquer hate is with doing the opposite, which is showing some support, being kind. Some people could say that's love, whatever, it just not hate. Don't hate. It's its own poison. When people do that, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's a very strange behavior that's only self-inflicting to the person doing it. So, there's a lot of lonely people out there. And they're pretty active online. So to counter that little minority of loudmouths, together, all of us showing support can drown them out so that they can we can encourage them to find a more effective means to come out of their depression and to escape their loneliness and to feel like they're part of a community, because that feels way better than whatever the joy they're getting out of getting a rise out of people, Eric says, we don't suffer from your live streams, my friend. We have a small little business that does what you do. I love working at my business and I keep watching. Hey, that's awesome, Eric. Thank you. Coming from a peer, that means that much more. Joe Will says, I just went to the website and bought a Go Faster sticker and an Inspired by Carrie Holzman badge. Love the channel. Thanks, Chillwell. I appreciate that. Hope you enjoy your badge. Makes your computer go 10% faster. It's not true. And Fred has provided Jack the link to the video where I reviewed the LED thingy. Kate Cordia's Technology contributes 20 bucks. He says, Carrie, I just want to say thank you. Have a blessed day. Well, thank you, Kate Cordias. Thanks for your continued support. John Powell says, Carrie, on an old HP Elite Desk pre-build, is UEFI better? Well, UEFI is better regardless of anything you said prior to that. UEFI is better. Yeah. But by better, it's just a more evolved, more advanced form of BIOS that allows a little more control from the operating system. And there's a little more to it than that. Most people would never notice the difference, quite honestly. But if given a choice of having something better, regardless if you recognize what's better about it, I choose the better thing. If the cost is the same, why not? Greg, I just missed it. Where did he go? John Williams says, I love the new Windows keys you've provided at a great price for Windows 10 Pro. Thank you so much. It's great. I love your live streams. Thank you, John. I went through a lot of research and effort. I had all these people just going, just believe me because I said so. Oh, they're fine. Just believe me. But nobody was willing to explain or justify how they were proving it. At least the people I talk to, and they're just like, well, then just don't buy it if you don't, right? So I'm like, well, if I buy it and it's fraudulent, are you going to refund my money? No. Well, then, obviously you don't even believe in the product yourself. So when I had to start from scratch and I had to look at all these companies, they're all reaching out to me. They all want me to sell their stuff. And I had to find one that was legit. So it took a lot of research and a lot of time because I got no help from other content creators. They just say it's real and you're just, where's your evidence? Where's your proof? And will you refund my money if I buy it? It's not real or I have a problem with it. Will you refund? And every content creator I spoke to said, no, of course I'm not going to do that. I said, well, then get out of here. So when I do it, I'm like, I know these work and I'm going to make the same guarantee I make to my customers in real life. I can't do that to customers. I'd be out of business. So I personally guarantee those keys are legitimate and they activate and they are legal and they are totally 100% saving you money with no consequences, right? The same as any other OEM key with the same restrictions. I don't know, I just don't know why other content creators, if they're so believing in what they're doing, why won't they put their money where their mouth is, right? And if one of them would have done that, maybe I wouldn't have had to have done all the research. But because none of them did it, I couldn't believe them. They didn't give me anything to justify anything they were saying. They were just pulling stuff out of the sky. I'm like, well, I guess you just pull it out of the sky and just take your word for it. But it's my money, not their money. So what do they care? So I guess I'm kind of a weirdo. I want to make sure that people aren't getting ripped off from anything I'm endorsing. It's very important to me. So I'm glad you appreciate that because I put a lot of time and effort into that all alone without help. Greg Guy says, I sent you $10 via PayPal for the vets from a vet. Hey, Greg, thank you. Yeah, we still have 3 veteran giveaways to go yet. Again, it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to put your money behind it, right? I'm not saying take my word for it. I'm guaranteeing it. Put my money where my mouth is. That means you're going to get a working key or you're going to get a refund. One way or the other. Show me another YouTube channel that does that. I've never seen it. But they're all offended. How dare Carrie say these things? Hey, it's your behavior. I'm just pointing it out, man. You want to act that way, don't act that way. Change. Do what I'm doing. Personally guarantee your stuff. I'll give a lot more respect for you. You can't just demand respect from me because it hurts your feelings you didn't get it. If you're somebody that I'm criticizing because you're exhibiting that behavior as a content creator, change your behavior. Crying and whinging about it doesn't change your behavior, it makes you worse. Jack says, I did put hubcaps on my lawnmower. No, he didn't. He's just kidding. Do I still have the streaming PC and the 200R? It was a Ryzen. Yeah, so that streaming PC is going to go up for sale. I have to blow all the dust out of it, pull the capture card out of it, reinstall Windows 10 on it, and then I'll make it for sale. Yes, that will be one for sale. Thank you for asking. Michael Dane says he gave away, besides a computer, to a neighbor of his who's a veteran. He gave him an iPad Pro, a 12.9 third generation, and gave it to him so he can access the internet, and even gives him access to the internet. So, yeah. Is there any more he could possibly do? Plague Doctor says, Carrie, do you recommend buying an Intel 12th Gen CPU? If it fits your needs and your budget, why not? Buy whatever fits your needs and budget. Madi UL contributes $10. He says, hey, bro, in chat. Hello, Madi. Thanks again, Madi. And a couple more bucks from Madi. Thank you, Madi. Some requests. People are missing Nutty on the cooler. Why? You guys want to see Nutty? Oh, there's a setting in here. Is it the overlay? No. Is it? Gosh darn it. Settings. It's been a while since I've been in these settings. Lighting, games, no. System specs, no. PC monitoring, no. Overclocking, no. Lighting, there's the display. Ah, I found it. There he is. There he is. So stupid. Ah, yes. Eric Coppin says, I still need to try and get you some HP EliteDesk mini towers to you. All of them have a Core i5 6th Gen Intel. Should I use your email for TechVets to contact you? I bought over 20. Wow. Use Carrie at carrieholzman.com. The TechVets email, I don't check it very often. So yeah, Carrie at carrieholzman.com is the best way to reach me. Thank you. We'll talk about that. People talking about TPM. Windows 11 doesn't require any TPM. If you download the official beta, the actual real beta from Microsoft, it does not require TPM. in its current form. So I don't know what everybody's talking about. I mean, I know Microsoft says they intend to require it, but they don't. If you download the official Windows 11 beta, it does not require TPM. Furthermore, TPM is already built in. Like this motherboard right here has TPM in there. It's part of the, it's on the, TPM is on every CPU made in the last 6 years, pretty much. Some CPUs goes further than that. So you don't need a physical. I don't know why everybody's making a big deal over something Microsoft is not enforcing. Although Microsoft has said they intend to, but they're not. And furthermore, it's built into your chip. Again, we deal with people who have the least amount of information, who have the most amount of anxiety. Those who educate themselves on subjects have less anxiety, less technochondria. Education is so powerful, it can affect your health. You're having anxiety over this. You're getting angry over something that does not exist currently. So if we bring up this system, like this is just a random computer, I didn't even think about TPM, but just to prove a point. This has TPM. It's built into the Intel CPU. It's built into the AMD Ryzen CPUs. It's all built in. It's been there the whole time. I don't know why this is such a big deal. I really don't understand the insistence of fighting for limits. Let me fight for my limits, Carrie. Don't empower me. I want to continue to complain because I lack proper information, and I will use that to justify my anger. It's a very bizarre world, man. It's just weird. All right, let me just turn this on and get this out of the way because it's driving me nuts. Let's turn this on. Hopefully it'll come on here in a second. Plug it in. There we go. We'll hit delete. Oop, wrong keyboard. My bad. Hold on a minute. This thing boots too damn fast, so I missed it. Okay. I need the other mouse. Yeah, I need to go full screen so I can see it. We shut it down. And then we'll start it up one more time, and I'll use the proper keyboard this time. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back on, hit delete, and we're going to show you that you're making a big deal of nothing. As usual, this is very common on the internet. There's a lot of people who like to scream and shout about nothing. And then you educate them and they go, oh, sorry. So let's go into the BIOS. So frustrating. People don't listen. I don't even know why I bother. I mean, it's so frustrating. They don't listen. They got their mind made up. I'm going to stay uneducated and I want to stay angry. I want to be angry. Why are you stopping me from being angry, Carrie? I want to be angry. Can't you tell? Why do you think I'm so upset over something that is clearly not an issue? Hold on. Kind of screwed this up a minute here. Let's turn it back on. And you're going to see no signal on your screen. That's the signal coming out of the computer I'm booting from right now, which is the computer we just built just in this video earlier. And in just a minute, I should get the power on screen, or the power on self-test. The Gigabyte logo will come up. Why is it taking so long now? What have I done? I think I'm going to put camera 1 back on so you can see that I haven't lost my video feed. And I'll just put myself in the corner so at least you have something to look at. Did I knock the cable loose? What have I done? Okay, that's in. That's in. We cut the power. And turn this back on. Now see, it just powered right on. I don't think I had it on off long enough. Let's see if it boots. Yeah, it is absolutely maddening. People want to, people want to be mad. They just want to be outraged. And when you show them there's nothing to be outraged on, they don't believe you. They just refuse to accept it. So on YouTube, I have the ability to show people, whether it's about thermal compound or washing a motherboard in the sink or blowing out the dust with a leaf blower. Oh, it's going to damage your fans. Oh, you got electrostatic discharge. All these people talk about something they've never experienced in their life. Never, ever has anybody experienced that. And yet they'll come out here like it's a real pandemic. It's a real issue to be concerned about. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's all purely imagination. Hey, look how creative and imaginative I am. I could come up with all kinds of crap. Hey, good for you. Now, let me show you reality. Wrong keyboard again. Okay, got it. See, I get so upset it affects my ability to think straight. Now I could get rid of camera one. So let's look under this BIOS. I don't know where it is in here, but it's somewhere in here. We can turn the TPM on if we want to turn it on. It's not a big deal. It's a firmware TPM. You don't have to have a physical hardware TPM. Let me see if I can find it in here. It's in here somewhere. That's all just boot options. I think CSM support has to be off, I think. I don't use TPM. Here's trusted computing. What's the T stand for? So you've got a security device support. Okay, so that would be the module. We don't want the module. We want the firmware. Not remember. I've never done it before. I'm trying to figure out where they put it. It's in here. Oh, well, I looked and I didn't see it. I talked to support. They told me it wasn't there. Yeah, support's an idiot. Support. When you call support, you're reaching out to the lowest form of technical ability that a company hires. That's a starting position. It's in here somewhere. Let's see. Where did they hide it? Again, I think CSM support has to be off. Let me just do a little cheating and let's go to Google. Let's enable firmware TPM Gigabyte. So it's called Gigabyte. It shows it's under peripherals and it's called PTT. So under peripherals, PTT. Hold on, let me look back at the screen again. It's the second thing under what our boot options are. This one is a little different. We've got onboard LAN controller. It's in here. Ah, right here. Intel, it's right in front of my face. It's right in front of my face the whole time. What does this say? Can anybody tell me what this says? My computer doesn't have it. Yes, it does. Intel calls it one thing, AMD calls it something else. It's on every board made. If you look, I can't speak for like HPs and Dells and pre-builts because they lock a lot of stuff down. So they have it, but they're not giving you access to it, maybe. But if you built your own computer in the last 6 years, I promise you it's in there. Your inability to find it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I remember as a little kid, I'd say, Mom, where's the milk? It's in the fridge. I'm looking in the fridge. It ain't there. And my mother would stomp out all irritated, and she'd take some stuff and move it out of the way, and she'd say, it's right there the whole time. You just have to move some stuff. And then, so now I'm that way because that was done to me. It's always been there. It's always been there. You don't have to buy anything. Oh my gosh. What am I going to do, man? What am I going to do? It's a world I live in. It's just filled with people that just want to. Just give me a reason to be upset, Carrie. It doesn't matter if it's real. Why is that so much to ask for? Why does it bother you that I want to be upset all the time? I guess I'm weird and I don't like it when people are upset. I like people to be happy and smiley, and if you're going to be upset about something, at least make it real. So the TPM has been part of a processor, a CPU from Intel and AMD for about 6 years. And Intel also said they weren't going to, Microsoft said they weren't going to support the original Ryzen processor. But now they say they are. So that's why I'm saying you guys are getting all worked up over something that isn't happening. It's not happening. Microsoft has said what their intent is, but the reality of it, Microsoft can say whatever they want to say, but at the end of the day, it's what is Microsoft doing? What Microsoft is doing today is if you want to download the beta of Windows 11 officially from Microsoft, it does not require a specific CPU or TPM the way you guys are saying it will. So apparently your crystal ball is better than mine, or you believe all the nonsense Microsoft tells you. Regardless, Windows 10 doesn't expire until October of 2025 or something like that. So it's not like your world's going to end, number one, if you cannot install Windows 11. Number two, nobody has yet been able to tell me anything Windows 11 can do that Windows 10 can't already do. So this need for it is also just an abstract, imaginary, and voluntary individual illness. Like, I don't know what else to say. You're just sort of swept up in some marketing hype, and you're letting yourself be manipulated by a marketing company to a point that it's getting you upset and anxiety over whether or not you'll be compatible over something you don't need that doesn't solve any problem you have. And you want to be able to avoid potential problems that don't exist, and you want to spend your money to do that today. And I'm the one who's got the problem. Okay, so good luck to you. For the rest of us, we're going to live in practicality and in reality of what is. What is now, right now. Right now, Windows 11 doesn't require that. And, if you're running an old CPU, of course you're not going to run Windows 11. Duh. I mean, what do you expect? This stuff, it's preposterous to have that sort of logic, to go, well, I bought this 80 horsepower car and it won't pull my 3-ton yacht. I'm so upset. Hey, that thing wasn't designed to pull a 3-ton yacht, genius. Have some realistic expectations. Get rid of the yacht, or get rid of the car, or replace the car with something that can do the job that car wasn't designed to do. So it's really, really frustrating dealing with people online sometimes. They just want to fight for their limits. They want to double down and insist, these are my limits, Carrie. How dare you push me beyond my limits? I will fight for my limits. You do that. For the rest of us, you know the truth. And don't be brainwashed by these people. That's all I'm saying. The truth is out there. There's evidence in reality. Nothing in here. Joseph Zins contributes $5. He says, Carrie, does it matter a whole lot what grade hard drive I have in my PC? I've got 2 Seagate NAS hard drives, no RAID, because you listed it on a video in 2013. NAS hard drives work fine in a desktop. They're really intended to be left on 24/7 for the best reliability, but they're intended to be in a NAS, right? But they'll work fine in a desktop. They cost a bit more. You probably spent more than you needed to. That's all. Thank you for your question and contribution. Kevin Smith says, hey, remember the i7 4790K? I'm still using it with the 2070 and it runs every game. It's still a great CPU and hopefully it'll work with Windows 11. Who cares? Again, what's Windows 11 going to do for it? Why do you guys want it? Why? Can anybody tell me why you want Windows 11? Why? Why do you want that? It's weird. A company comes out with a product specifically designed to drill more money out of you, and you're like, yes, please, can I have some more? What's going on? What are you thinking? They're shoving a product down your throat and you're just like asking them for more. It's weird, man. Just tell me why. Can anybody explain this behavior? It is strange. What is Windows 11 going to do that you can't already do? Anybody? Anybody at all? I issue you this challenge. Tell me why that's a hill worth dying on. Come on. You're smarter than this. I want it because it's new. That is the attitude of rich people. And if you're a rich person, you won't be trying to run it on a 10-year-old computer because you won't own a 10-year-old computer because you're rich. I need Windows 11 for security updates past 2025. Now, you're going to be dead before then. You got your focus on the wrong thing, man. There's something coming. Just try and survive, okay? When you get there, if you make it to 2025, we'll have that discussion. But if you're not going to make it, I think you're worried about something that ain't going to happen. I don't know if you're going to live or die. I'm just making that up. If everybody else is making up stuff, I mean, if you can't beat them, join them. John Williams says, Carrie, you're the best. I hope to see you again tomorrow as it's my birthday and it would be awesome. Hey, John Williams, happy birthday to you, my friend. Thank you. Some comments in the chat room. We got some funny people in the chat. Kay Cordius says, I didn't mean to stir the pot. It wasn't you, Kay Cordius. It was somebody else. He says, I was asking if you enable TPM for encryption on business clients. No, that wasn't you I was referring to. No, I do not enable it for my business clients. No. Mike Smith, I believe, does, because he has that, FINRA level of compliance that he has to comply to compliance. Anyway, Mike does that kind of work. I don't do that kind of work. We'll talk about that more on a future Tech Bets. Sneed says, rich people don't buy computers. Instead, they go to the public library and surf the net for free. I've known a few who do that. I know a guy who bought a Tesla Model X, with the gull wing doors, It's over $100,000 for this car. And he takes it down the road to charge it where it costs him nothing to charge it. He also picks up aluminum cans out of the road. Maybe that's why he's a millionaire. I don't know many millionaires like that, but they're out there. MIB Pro says, Carrie, will you be installing Windows 10 Pro until the end of life? No, I'm sure I won't be doing that. When Windows 11 is mature, and it'll take about, I'd estimate 6 to 12 months from its release, then we can evaluate any return on investment of upgrading clients to it. There may be some issues regarding requirements to certain compliances or applications that decide that you need to have Windows 11 that are critical to the operation of the business. It doesn't usually work. It usually works the other way around. Usually businesses need to hold on to old operating systems to avoid the expense of upgrading applications. But sometimes it works the other way, like TurboTax. It's not going to install on Windows 7, for example. It's just not going to work. Certain hardware is not going to work. And that will become more and more frequent the more Windows 11 matures. But out of the gate, I'll let you guys do all that nonsense. You can deal with all the problems and then wait for the updates to address those problems. So that'll take about 6 to 12 months on any new product, and it'll mature. Once it's mature, then we can more successfully, more accurately gauge if it's worth the time and effort to go from Windows 10 to Windows 11 in a business environment where there's the investment right? The investment is in labor. The investment is in potential training and changes to the employees have to learn navigating the operating system and whether or not there's benefits to that investment. If there is not enough benefit to justify it, then we wait and we check in on it maybe in another year. We reevaluate again, cost to benefit ratio. And if there is a time where Windows 10 security starts becoming an issue, that shifts the value of Windows 11. Or if Windows 11 can do something that Windows 10 can't do, that makes the office more money, more productive, more secure, then of course, again, we look at that ROI, we look at that return on investment, because we're not just upgrading one machine at home. We're upgrading, anywhere from, I'd say, a minimum of 8 computers to upwards of hundreds or thousands of computers. This is nothing to be entered into lightly, and certainly nothing to be jumped into on a brand new product unless we want to jeopardize filing for bankruptcy in our corporation. So we want to make sure as IT staff that we're keeping our clients safe, secure, and productive at all times at the least amount of cost possible, but the most amount of performance, the most amount of security at all times. So Windows 11 is going to have to prove itself in time to be reliable, to be secure, and to offer value over and above what we already have. It has not done that yet, but there's a lot we don't know, and the product is not done, and there's a lot that can change. So we're not going to sit here and play these games. We have work to do, and Microsoft will do what Microsoft is going to do, and then we'll wait and see how that plays out, and we'll adjust accordingly. We have responsibilities to our customers. We have responsibilities to our investors. And that is first and foremost important because we want to stay employed and we don't want to be living out on the street simply because it's new. It doesn't follow any form of any logic of real life unless you're rich. So that's my opinion. And that and $4 will get you a cup of coffee. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up. I want to show you this neon sign. It's getting a little dark in here, so maybe it'll shine a little brighter. I don't know. Let's see if I can highlight this thing a little better. Let me get my camera. Out here. Let's get this bad boy turned on. We'll fire this up and let it synchronize with the receiving unit, and then I'll just cut the lights over here in the hopes that it'll really make this thing pop, because this thing is just so cool. Let's turn this off. And let's come over here. And I'm going to turn this. It's going to get really dark here for a minute, guys. Oh, there's a lot of light coming off of this neon sign. Holy cow. But you see the lights behind me, so now I'm more silhouetted. Let's go back to the wireless camera right here. Here we go. See how I threw the garbage on the floor? Those are all the spare cooler parts. Come on, how cool is that? I love it. That is so cool. Graham's Neon out in Mesa, Arizona did that. And I just love it. I kind of wish that the YouTube logo down there was red, but it's not red in my logo, and they stayed true to the logo. And this background, this black plastic, you can see these are the hooks. There's 3 hooks to hang it on the wall. Making it big time, Ma. I got my own neon sign, just like I always dreamed of. Big time, playing with the big boys now. Okay, let me go back to my main camera. I don't know, I just think it's cool. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That old school neon, it just tickles the brain, man. It's just so cool. So cool. And Graham's Neon, what a great job those guys did. I kind of want to have another one made just give them another project. That's how good they are. And you know what? I was really surprised because when I was looking for the place, I was driving there the other day and I'm like, how am I going to find it? I'm looking for addresses. You know, the addresses on the side of a building is about like that. Grams Neon's addresses are, their address is like, each number is 3 feet, 4 feet tall, lit up in neon. And then the doors in the back, and they've got these painted on the side of the building, entrance in big words with arrows. And I'm like, well, this place is really easy to find and it's pretty easy to know where the entrance is. Then it occurred to me, they are a sign store. Like, if you have a hard time finding a sign store, they're not a very good sign store. And it makes sense when you think about it. They had great signs. The address was a great big sign. You can't miss it. The entrance, you can't miss it. It's very clearly pointed out in signage. Anyway, it's pretty darn cool. So thanks, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I hope you learned a little about TPM and Windows 11. And I hope you don't buy into that nonsense that some of these people would have you believe. And relax, chill out. No big deal. Nobody ever answered any legitimate reason why they want Windows 11. Nobody has ever given me an answer to that question that's legit, that justifies their angst, and it doesn't justify their anger. It's just bizarre behavior from people that have nothing else better to do, as far as I can tell. They just want to be upset about something. It's very strange. When Windows 11 is actually released, we can talk about, what any, if any restrictions, what they are. And there might be some workarounds for it if people really want it, but we still fall back to what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it once you have it that you can't do now? And I'm still waiting for that answer. And if anybody could let me know in the comments after this video airs, because it's never ever been a question anybody's ever been able to answer, then I can explain to me, why you want it. What is it about Windows 11 that makes you want it? Because as far as I can tell, it's just Windows 10. So I don't get this whole existence. It's a very small group of people. They're very, very loud. They're so loud. It's like they know they've got tiny numbers, so they make up for it by being loud. They think they can trick you by being loud. You'll think there's more of them. Don't fall for it. It's a group of people. Tiny people. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Again, thank you to all my contributors tonight. Thanks Frankie B and John Jack Wilson for providing the content and paying for the shipping as always. Thank you to everybody who has contributed, Madi and countless other people. YouTube used to keep a running list of everybody who's contributed during a live stream. And for about a month and a half, it stopped. Just doesn't work anymore. It's supposed to keep a running record of super chats. It's just gone. It's just not there. So I used to like to give a shout out again to everybody who's contributed, and I would read through the list. It's gone, and it hasn't come back, and I don't know why. But Tony, thanks to Tony, thank you to all the people I'm forgetting at the moment who've been very generous and kind in their support, and thank you for everybody who's asked questions, even if my answer was a little bit abrasive. I appreciate your question. I'm glad you asked, because if I've got quick tips videos you're not watching, how else are you going to know? There's probably a lot of other questions you don't know enough to ask yet that I've already answered in the quick tips. So I encourage you to check that out. And with Windows 11, let's wait till we get information. If you want to download the official beta of Windows 11, Microsoft is not enforcing any TPM requirement on that. So we'll see what happens in the future. But for right now, you can just download it. If you want to play with a beta piece of software, knock yourself out, have a good time. There's no restriction on it to that level that people are making a big deal about. Okay? Now, when it happens, we'll talk about it when and if that happens. But until then, it's just all in there. And of course, TPM is already built into your BIOS. If a system you built yourself within the last 6 years, it's going to have it. It's going to have it. So doesn't make any sense. Jeff Jankowitz says he's 64 years old and he's still on the job. Damn right. I don't want to retire. I want to work less, but I don't want to retire. Kazison, thank you. G. Watson, Matt Power, Glenn's Music, Jeff Jankowitz, Arnold Schmidt, Bob Connors, the Mac Geek, Solo, Frank M., Marco Maelstrom, MIB Pro, Eric Fletcher, Fred Sunderman, Brad Revel, Frank M., Sam Kowalski, Jeff Ryman, Michael Dane, Derek Weymouth, Trevor Dunn, Trevor Dune, Bob Shoemaker, Mort Motts, and Super Marula, Greg Guy, Selden Bell, who creates this. Selden created the rotating cube that's normally on display that I've replaced with Nutty. I should put that back before I go because I'll forget. Let's put that back where it was. That's better. Yeah, Selden created that. Jason Urbank and Planet Cryos, as well as Kazison and Tim Too Much, John Paul Bacon, Eric Kaufman. Thank you guys. Just shouting random names out, by the way. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I will see you all. I don't know if I'll have time tomorrow. I will try to get back tomorrow, but Friday at 1, if all the parts come in, a build unlike any other I've ever done. Join me and Mitch Morrison Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific time for a build unlike any other. I hope. As far as tomorrow, as far as Thursday, if I can, I will go live. I have a ton of content to shoot. I have no shortage of things I want to show you. I have a shortage of time. So I'm trying my best. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your support. Thank you for just being cool people. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for putting up with me. I will see you all very, very soon, one way or the other. Until then, oh wait, Ghost Shadow contributes $2. You just snuck right in there. He says he lost 40 pounds to COVID so far. It's great weight loss. Well, I hope you're going to be okay. I've had the flu pretty bad where I've lost weight. It was like, yeah, maybe that wasn't so bad to get the flu. But then I just put the weight right back on again. So it was nice while it lasted. But, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So let's get stronger. How about that? Thank you. Thank you for your support. And we wish you the best. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.